Welcome to the BJJ Executive Podcast, episode 10. I'm your host, Dave Kroll. And I'm going to start this week just like I do every week and just like I have every week so far, and that is with a deep sense of humility and gratitude. Because once again, I've had an opportunity to share conversations, to share the mats in ways that I never would have if it wasn't for this podcast. And so I always have to remind myself that this podcast would be nothing if it wasn't for the guests that have devoted a good chunk of their time, both in preparing for the podcast, but then also, as you can see, we're also kind of a long format podcast, and coming in here and actually recording. In many cases, it's out of the way. And obviously for the listener, if it wasn't for you devoting a little bit of time to put what I hope is a supplement into your tool belt, a little bit of shark repellent in the bat belt, I guess you could call it, then we wouldn't be anywhere. And so I truly am thankful, I'm grateful, and I am humbled by the fact that you're just listening. And so this week, interesting little story, and I hope it ties in well to this week's guest, but my wife and I have actually started a new initiative. We've started training formally yoga, and you want to talk about some deep waters. This is something that if you know me, if you've been around me, you've seen kind of my mobility routines, my flexibility routines. I mean, I've got a pretty regimented setup that I go through each time that I train. I've always been into that, but I've never formally dove in and started actually going and doing any kind of yoga classes. And so it's something that my wife and I can do together. And we decided that we were actually going to put some skin in the game, sign up for a studio formally, and then actually go to some classes. And so as we have kind of dove in, the lessons have been plentiful. And so we've done some hot yoga, some fast vinyasas, things that'll push your cardio. We've done some slow and meditative forms, things that'll just really relax you. But the one thing that I've noticed over and over and over again is this: I don't know anything about yoga. And it's opened my mind to a couple different things. Number one, first of all, if you don't do yoga and you're a jiu-jitsu practitioner, I highly recommend you consider it because it is game-changing. My muscles feel elongated. My joints feel lubricated. I feel more recovered. I feel more strength in my hips. It really has been a game changer to me. But probably more fundamental and a little bit more cerebral than that has been something that has been unexpected. And that is the ability and the opportunity, I guess you could call it, to be bad at something again. And especially as you compare it back to jiu-jitsu. And we get in this rut, we get in this game for a long time, and sometimes you could forget how frustrating it could feel to be deep in the water and not know anything. And if you know anything about yoga, if you go to any of these classes, you could get into some of these poses, and it literally, if you're used to being good at something and you go in and you don't know anything about what you're doing, it could make you so frustrated that you want to cry. And what that's done for me is it's given me a newfound respect. It's given me a respect for everybody that comes and steps foot into the academy. And every time I see a new white belt that walks in, no matter where they're at, if they came fresh off of the college circuit and they're a good athlete already, and I know they're probably not going to have that many problems, I've got a ton of respect. If they're a 45-year-old mother, if they're a 45-year-old father that are doing everything that they can to stay in shape, and this is probably just going to be a hobby, maybe a couple days a week, maybe they don't even stick with it, I've got a ton of respect. And if being bad at something is you're a purple belt or a brown belt or even a black belt and you're adding things to your game and that's what you're bad at, you're bringing the back step in, you're bringing the long step in, you're working on your top game, whatever that might be, it has opened my mind up, it's opened my eyes up, and it's reminded me sometimes you got to be humbled a little bit. Jiu-jitsu will definitely do that, but doing things that you're bad, pushing your boundaries, exposing yourself to new ideas could be more revealing than you expect. And I'm grateful for the experience with yoga. I'm going to continue. I hope I can share more of my journey with you as we go on. But tying that in to this week's guest, Jose Balda. Jose and I, on paper, probably wouldn't have met in normal lives. And
That's true.
So once again, opening yourselves up, opening your mind to new opportunities. Jose and I are about 20 years apart in age. Jose's a black belt. Probably wouldn't come looking to this old brown belt for any jiu-jitsu advice. We're from two different countries, two different continents, And we've just been fortunate enough, and we've had a wonderful conversation leading up to it. I had a chance to meet him earlier in the week, and we're here in the home studio for BJJ Executive, and I've had a chance to enjoy a cup of coffee together, get ourselves properly caffeinated. But I'd like to welcome this week's guest, BJJ black belt, Ecuadorian-born black belt, social media influencer, actor, organizational psychologist, and future, hopefully future, what would I say, master's degree, I suppose, as we go down the path. Jose Balda. Jose, thank you so much, man, for coming out. And it's been a pleasure to meet you, dude. Seriously, we've talked for like the last hour, so
that's great.
It's kind of weird to take a step back, but
for sure. Yeah, so happy to be here, Dave, and as well, the pleasure is all mine. And it's just so weird to understand that how we can connect with this phones and understanding our visions.
It's a small world.
It's just a small world, but it's just so big right now. I'm telling you, I'm so happy to be here in Flower Mound, and I was like,
the lovely Flower Mound,
the lovely Flower Mound, and a lot of horses over here, and I'm like, oh my God, where am I?
This is kind of the country, especially this part of Flower Mound. We're on the very north part, so there's still some ranches up here and stuff. Which, man, every time one goes away, it's heartbreaking. They put 100 houses up where one used to be, and the horses go away, the people come, you know. Mm-hmm. So
and it's weird because you're so into the Metroplex. Like I live like 50 minutes from here, so I'm like going to these places, and I'm like, I'm still here in Texas. I haven't left the DFW, but right now I can see this vast territory.
I know,
and it's just so rewarding to keep on putting the miles on my my memory box. And it's like, what are you gonna get from this? Hey, remember this big scenery, remember this background. So there is a grapevine way here. So when you
talking about 2499,
I think
the one that goes north south.
That's why.
Okay.
But they have the golf course, right? The Cowboys golf course and the Grapevine golf course.
Yep.
And it's so a scenery that you never seen here in Texas. That is just one straight road and just lake and lake and lake. And I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. And from the top, you're watching a landing plane. Yeah,
you're going right over this, or right in basically the landing path at DFW Airport.
Exactly.
It's a cool part of the Metroplex.
So you're like, oh my God, I'm here. I'm still here in the Grapevine, right? Where, Post Malone is born, right? Everybody's
Post Malone is from Grapevine?
Yes.
Oh, dude, my kids probably know that.
Yeah, like, exactly.
Come on,
that's
Dad. Plug in, dude.
That's
catch up, Dad.
That's the pop culture, and I just
found out who Post Malone is, dude.
Really?
You know why? This is an embarrassing story. There was. Do you know who BTS is?
Oh,
the world's most popular Korean pop band.
Yeah, they're.
So I secretly like them.
Oh yeah.
I actually think they're pretty good.
Likewise.
And they did a carpool karaoke with
the Stephen Conan. No, this
one of the nighttime show guys, the English dude. I can't remember what his name is. The
James,
British dude, James something.
It's James. Mm-hmm.
But anyway, they did a Post Malone song, and I was like, see, I love BTS, man. This is awesome. And my kid's like, you're a dumbass. That's a Post Malone song.
Oh my God. And you're like, oh my God, I'm like, so out of date.
Who's Post Malone, dude?
And he's like, Texas, like, I don't know, Pride.
Oh man, is he? I didn't know that.
Yeah, well,
I can think of a lot of other things that would have.
Exactly, but
the Cowboys, maybe.
Well, the Cowboys, but he was like, I don't know, he made himself famous in soundtrack. Oh no, SoundCloud. So after that, he,
I didn't know that, dude.
He made it like the millions of views.
See, this is why you expose yourself to different things, man.
Oh my God, yeah. Because we've been talking.
I hope you can teach me some jiu-jitsu too.
We will.
But you've already changed my world. You made me look like
a
cooler dad.
Because
now I know who Post Malone is.
You're like, oh my God, son, have you heard this wide inversion, right? Like that's the biggest.
Did you know Post Malone was from Grapevine?
And he's like, oh my God, have you heard Congratulations? And I'm like, with whom? With Quavo? Oh, perfect. So right now you're into
there we go, dude.
The world.
I like it, man.
And I'm like, oh my God, Grapevine is so nice, and you have this landscape, and I'm like, where am I? I'm still here in Texas. And I've been, the funny thing about Texas is like, you don't even need to leave the state to tell 1,000 stories.
Yeah.
So I can tell you, somebody that is not from here how I perceive Texas, we have this, memes and jokes and everything. And it's like, oh yeah, Texas is just, plain, some tumbleweed rolling around, a cow over there.
Yeah,
and I'm like,
need a horse to get around
if
on.
you go to a road trip, you're going to see all this, big scenes of a lot of land and some cows and everything. But when you realize you have, I visit the three major, right? DFW, Houston, and Austin, right?
We never talk about Austin.
Exactly.
Austin is outlawed, and I'm totally joking, dude.
We're gonna
I'm
have
like I'm an anti-Austin.
I think Austin is the only liberalism.
Yeah, I guess they kind of. I mean, dude, Texas is surprisingly turning into kind of a mixed culture, which doesn't bother me one single bit. I'm always bothered by Austin because I used to work there, and anyway, I hate how Austin has this like we're better than you culture. So then I take that as a competition, and I'm like, oh well, what is it what is it that you think it is? And then I'm like, okay, I'll find something in Dallas that'll compare to it. I don't care. I'm not from Dallas, dude. I grew up in St. Louis, but it's just when I hear that.
Where is St. Louis, Louisiana?
St. Louis is in Missouri. It's in the Midwest. It's about like 12-hour drive from here. Beautiful country. I mean, it's super humid, super cold.
Do you have the landmark?
It's gorgeous.
The big arch. The big arch.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. If you really want to get a little bit of American culture, though, man, you've got to get the St. Louis baseball team, the Cardinals.
The Cardinals.
There you go. So that's you give me Post Malone, I give you the St. Louis Cardinals.
I feel
that's our trade, dude.
We're trade off.
That's our trade.
What is funny is like
you've got all this rich culture in you, and like we're trading Post Malone and St. Louis Cardinals. Too. I feel like we're off on something.
we're gonna have a lot of pop culture, like a lot of like modernity for sure, and some because I love American history, like. So when we were doing road trips with Sam back in the day, because I came here to the DFW.
We got to talk about Sam in a bit, yeah.
We started doing this big like seminars, right? Like he was scheduled for a seminar, or I have to do a competition, and we always did like a carpool or at a road trip.
Okay.
And he was really into like understanding his stories and hearing about audiobooks on Comanches and big native tribes. So I'm like, cool. that's just rich for me because understanding that every single
wasn't
culture.
That long ago either.
Oh no, it wasn't.
I mean, we're talking about 200 years.
And let me tell you, man, I went to Mexico, I went to the palace, and they haven't forget. They have this
Really?
big mural.
That's a little scary.
Oh yeah, because United States has this the green uniform, so they have all the green troops and all the Mexican liberalism, and they were fighting for the freedom, right?
Yeah.
And there is something that even though here in the United States you're like, I love when you have these amendments because they're universal laws of like, hey, this can be white or black, but you have to decide. Like there is this amendment that says you need to give power to the state, but you have power as well. So the Second Amendment is open carry. You need to provide security for your own and for your people. And they have this one that is
Who is this? This is in Mexico or
no? This is here. Well, the amendments that you have over here in the States,
like the Bill of Rights, the 10 amendments. Okay.
The 10 amendments.
Okay,
and it's just
you're probably about to educate a bunch of Americans on here too.
Oh my God!
Because I guarantee you, a lot of people don't know it enough about it.
They do have this 10 amendments, and they say, hey, give me freedom, or give me death. That's it. Yeah. And I always believe on that because it's like, if I'm gonna do it, if I'm gonna search for my freedom, independency, like I need to fight for it.
Yeah.
If I'm not gonna be able, give me what I deserve. But I'm gonna put all in my line to honor those principles.
Yeah.
Because we need to understand that even though we're in this modernity, it can be really drowning into the comforts of life. We still need to fight. We still need to understand what it's like to be a modern era man. And I have a lot of guidance, and thankfully having this black belt has opened me so much. But I'm telling you, so much ground with another black belts that, yeah, we're not gonna relate in any other form that kind of like, hey, I need some advice. Mm-hmm. I need a word with you. And gladly, nobody has shut the doors, and they always want to nurture me. Because what I seek is this knowledge and nourishment for experience. You're like, oh, yeah, I'm going to go to the States and make a lot of money. It's not that. What are you going to back up? Are you willing to back up with your work, with your presence, and with your values? Mm-hmm. Because I'm certain that the values that I learned growing up with my grandpa, right? My grandpa was always the breadwinner that, hey, I'm going to wake up early and I'm going to have this made. I'm going to start my company from scratch.
Yeah.
It was a difficult time back in the day. You have to wake up early. You have to do your own company. And after that, you realize that, hey, they put the work. We already have all these big companies created. I'm talking about in the United States or in Ecuador that they, are underdeveloped. But you're going to realize the work ethic needs to keep on going in order for us to keep on accomplish things, to keep on advancing as a society.
Yeah. I've had an opportunity just through the local jiu-jitsu community to experience kind of what you're describing, and that people that have come up from, different parts of the world. I mean, South America, Brazil, Ecuador, wherever, that have come up and are trying to build their own dream, and they're doing it the right way. Look, they didn't shed the responsibilities of life. Some have families, some have responsibilities, some have medical issues that they need to tend to, and they need to make money, and they're doing it the right way by just hustling and hard work and being smart. And obviously luck will sometimes play a factor into that, but man, I've got so much admiration for that, because there are just too many people that are out there that don't appreciate what's in front of you, and having to kind of like bootstrap up a little bit. So we got to get into your background a little bit, but before we do, so one of the weird things about podcasting is that I don't even know what today is. Today is March something.
March 1st.
But the episode here is going to come out on April 1st, which, as I understand, is your birthday. Yes. So everybody's going to be listening to this. There's at least a few hundred people that are going to download it on that day, and that's your birthday. So happy birthday on that day, even though obviously today it ain't it.
I'm so happy.
I'd sing for you, bro, but I don't know if that would do much for my 5-star rating.
No, we're gonna keep on those ratings high for sure. We're gonna maintain the quality.
I've already exposed the world to enough of poor pop culture or my lack thereof, so I don't think they should hear me sing too. But
I'm
happy
telling
birthday,
you,
man!
Thank you so
April
much.
1st.
And all the people that is hearing, I'm like, thank you guys for hearing, and keep on going, keep on those those 5-star rating in line, right?
Yeah, man. So one crazy thing before we get too far into it, that and you can bring this back up later on as we get into it, but like when we've talked about this offline, but ironically, and again, timeline is such a weird thing, and I don't want to talk too much about it because it gets confusing, but like we've just dropped Sam Snow's episode.
Yes, today.
And I didn't know Sam. I didn't know you. I mean, you and I had a chance to meet like over the phone. We've talked, and you called me, I think it was last weekend, and we were at wrestling, I believe. I don't remember what we were doing, but I was
you told me that you
something.
were on your way to some academy. I don't know.
What was I doing? I don't remember.
I didn't hear any background. That's why I was like, maybe.
But you had gone to Sam's Jesus and Jiu-Jitsu event, and there was 100-something people there, and you wanted to know if I was there. It
was so big, man.
And I didn't connect the dots that you and Sam would have known each other from Ecuador. I didn't know Sam had ever spent any time in Ecuador.
Oh my God,
so, dude, what a small world, man. I got two total strangers growing up in two totally different continents that happen to know one another, and now you are in my house.
Yeah,
it's so crazy, dude.
With this so beautiful,
it's statistically unusual, man. It's so weird.
Beautiful background, guys. You have to see it. Like, I hope we're gonna take some pictures of it. But oh my God, it's something to die for.
That's crazy.
And and even though with Sam we have this
small world, man.
This
you're his number one uke, it seems like.
Yes. So I'm the world's famous DFW ukes.
That's awesome, man.
And man, what is funny, it was like, okay, he's from here, from DFW, and he did his pursuit to Ecuador to, understanding what is the source, right? He went with my teacher, Fernando Soluso, right? So I think he gave Sam his purple and brown belt. If I'm not wrong, I think that
sounds about right. Yeah,
but kind of like that. So he was teaching on Manta. So what happened? It was like I started when I was 13 years old, right? So in that,
so you're like the perfect kids class example.
The perfect kids class. The kids class was starring it, and I was, one of the devoted ones.
You got the yellow belt.
Why? I'm telling you why. Because I've never have any interest in any sport. Yeah. So I grew up with no
baseball, no basketball,
nothing. Even though we have a lot of beach sports like surf, bodyboarding, I think, or kite surf, whatever. There is a lot of water sports over there, beach sports.
Did you live on the beach side of Ecuador?
So yeah.
Embarrassingly, I don't know that much about. I should have. I'm ashamed. I should have actually done a little more research on Ecuador before we got started.
Well, we have the four main regions, right? Like I think it's famous because we have the natural wonder of the world that is Galapagos, and it's like a preserve. So we have the solitary George, this big turtle that passed away. I think like 6 years ago. I don't know the time frame, but it was really really famous. And even though the story over there, they portray what happened, how they got discovered, and they use Charles Darwin's discoveries to make it famous, right?
Okay.
So you have a lot of fauna and a lot of preserved environment. So we have Galapagos, we have the coast side, that is Manta, we have the Guayaquil, so we have the big cities over there. But whenever you go to the beach sides, that's Manta. I think it's like 300,000 people is developed for sure.
It's
good.
It's not small,
and
that's for sure.
Where I live, it was like 50 minutes from the beach.
Okay.
So
cool. That's bodyboard type distance.
So there is a lot of like kite surf, surfers, bodyboard.
Awesome, that's cool.
But I never did those. Like,
wasn't your thing.
So wasn't my thing. My brother, he was always into sports, motocross, the ATMs.
Yeah.
He was really skilled for that. And my dad, he rides these big bikes. So he did like 5,000 miles here in the United States. He borrowed it was like a BMW bike. Damn. And start from Kansas
5,000 miles
to the Mount Rushmore and back. Like he did a lot of driving over here.
That's cool.
He got not got lost, but
why come to the States for that? You guys, and like you're in your own continent, you've got like some amazing scenery.
We do, but the thing is, like, man, have you here or have you tried the highways over here? There's nothing like that.
Okay.
Man,
okay. You've also got some border control issues, probably.
We do have some border control, but the thing, border is always gonna be really unsafe. Cartels.
Oh, really? Okay.
Well, you never know. Like, hopefully that never happens, but it does happen.
I hope not. Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, I'm talking about like the borders and just all of the different countries in South America. Like, if you were to do 5,000 miles, you're going to cross through several different countries.
So what they do, I think they have a really famous road that is like, I think they start from Ecuador and they go down to Island of Fire, that is right down Argentina.
Okay.
So I'm talking about the South Pole.
Okay. Wow.
So you have your Alaska.
You got your
Argentina.
South Argentina.
Oh my God, it's I'm telling you, it's just insane.
Yeah.
And they always been into like, hey, sports and everything, but I was like, I need my thing. So what happened, it was like, I always seek for martial arts. I always like fight. I always like to fight and not prove myself, but improve. So I did some taekwondo back in the day. Okay. Like, I'm telling you, 5 or 6. And after that, I did a year. I got my it was the yellow belt.
Okay.
You have to do like 20 movements in order to graduate. So I'm like, okay, cool. But after that, I left school and whatever.
This is just a hobby. It's something your parents
Exactly.
put you in to keep you busy.
And after that, I was in my high school, and they did this presentation. It was over there. It was capoeira and jiu-jitsu.
Okay.
So they portrayed the capoeira most likely the back and forth, the movement, the jingas, all of those things, and some flips, right? So it will be like good for the eye. Like people will be like, "Oh my God, that's crazy! I would like to do that." But the part that I like, it was the jiu-jitsu, the presentation, the self-defense. So after that, I got enrolled.
Somebody came to your school or something?
We just have one.
You just had who did the capoeira?
So we just have one academy over there. It was Satori. So the owner, Eduardo, he sent his teachers.
Okay.
And they did a presentation.
Spread the word.
And funny thing, Sam mentioned that he was with this Brazilian guy.
Uh-huh.
He was a blue belt back in the day. So this guy was called Giovanni, right? Jinga. And the Jinga is the movement that you do in capoeira, right? The dun, dun.
Okay, yeah.
So,
I've seen it.
That's the Jinga. And after that, you have the Negativa. You have all these movements to keep on going. But Jinga and Sam were, really close. But as we know, it's like I know more of the details because in my background, I was like, okay, Sam Snow. Oh, who's that? Oh my God, Giovanni.
Yeah.
And it was just funny to realize that they were struggling as well. They were grinding at that time.
Yeah, man.
And I thought that they were already established, that they were already into the mix. Right now, I look back and I'm like, oh my God, that was so.
Your perspective's totally
exactly.
different.
My perspective was
You're
turned.
probably about the age, right? That Sam would have been at that time because he was in his mid-20s, I guess, early 20s.
Yeah, I think he was like 23. He told me, and I was 13. So I trained with him, but you don't realize the nightlife, the struggle that he went to the beach and just stay over there just to clear his mind.
Yeah.
I'm like,
he was literally trying to live on a diet of crackers. He
exactly.
said.
I'm telling you.
So he could make it work. That's commitment, bro.
It's really bad. And even though world champions like Johnny Tama, he went to Manta to teach. Mm-hmm. So I know Johnny Tama that he's the first black belt world champion on IBJJF. He won Nogi Worlds. Mm-hmm. And when I saw Johnny, he was just committed to his craft. Pack really light, just gi, and start going back and forth in between academies to teach. Okay. And after that, he moved to the States. But I think Johnny was already like a purple belt as well.
Okay.
And you realize all the background of the people in the jiu-jitsu journey. You're like, oh, so this guy right now is a black belt world champion. Whenever he came here to Texas, I drive people around and we were just, having a blast. We went to Olive Garden just to have a good vibe.
Oh
man.
My God. And, I don't know if that's a good thing.
Oh my God, it was bad. But shout out to Johnny Tama and all
awesome, man.
And all the Ecuadorian guys that they are in San Diego over there.
Kind of paved the way a little bit, right?
They did it.
That's cool.
And what is most rewarding is that those words of a dreamer, somebody that is like, hey, this is the struggle, but the reward is really high, and you're gonna be able to accomplish if you keep on dreaming, if you keep on pursuing that.
It's gonna be hard.
It is, but he's he's always in that telling of, hey, it's gonna be hard, but look at me, like I conquer a lot.
Yeah. So take us back to 13, man. You're 13 years old. You got a Taekwondo yellow belt.
Yes. Yes. So some background.
And now you've seen some capoeira and a little bit of jiu-jitsu demonstration, it sounds like. When you saw it, was that the cue that you need to go figure out where they're doing this and start your journey? Or did it take some time? Or the parents supportive? What was the environment like for you?
So for my parents, man, they were nothing but supportive.
Really?
Like even though with the good and the bad.
Some parents don't like it, man. Some parents are like, no, we're not doing that. You need to go to Go learn to play a musical instrument. Or
Oh my god! And the thing is, like, my brother, he was a drummer, so my mom was sick about the music, the music
that
stuff.
worked out, dude.
So he was a drummer. He was like, oh, I need my
She's
I don't
like,
know,
"No more,
Yamaha drum set, and he was like, okay, I need.
She probably needed you to have a cheaper hobby, man. I mean,
Oh my
dude, drums
God. And kite surf is
and
not
kite surfing
is
and
not-
BMW motorcycles.
Oh my
dude,
God.
you probably were a blessing to your mom and dad. Dude, like, all I want to do is jujitsu. Just buy me some gis and pay for some tournaments.
And I start with the big old judo gi, this SMAA, old thick, like,
Yeah,
I don't know,
dude.
like
I've got
900 grams, like bad. But I think I start with
I miss those, man.
oh my god, I
miss
think I
those.
start with a karate one and just first class, boom, rip off. So
Yeah.
I was like, hey, buy me something good.
Yeah.
And after the first gi, I remember I was so excited that you don't get that excitement anymore, right?
Yeah.
You don't get that excitement of the first gi.
Yeah.
Back in the day, it was like, oh my god, I didn't knew anything about brands, anything about
They're everywhere now.
whatever
Yeah.
AP, Shoyoro, Fuji, like you don't know about that thing, but you just see this white gi over there that your mom or dad they bought it for you, and it's like, hey, this is the start.
It's special.
It was a special, and I'm telling you, growing over there, I always have this competitive mindset of, hey, I'm not the best one, but I know that if I put more time here, I'm gonna be able to surpass my own expectations.
Yeah, yeah.
And what happened, it was like, I encourage everybody to start competing or do whatever you want with jiu-jitsu, but do something that is gonna pursue you to do more.
Yeah.
What I mean about this is that everybody's like, oh my god, how was your first competition? I'm like, dude, to be honest, I sucked. I got tapped in like 30 seconds. My arm hurt.
Was that as a kid? Or
Yeah, it was like I was 14 years old. It was my first competition with this like seasoned guy that everybody was afraid of, and he just took my arm and like pop it, and I was like, that was the worst first experience ever, because I was crying and I was almost weeping. I'm like, man, this guy has no mercy. He went for the kill. I'm not made for this.
Yeah.
And all my family went there and saw me like,
it's so hard, man.
And I'm like, okay, guys, but if that happened to me and I'm able to say, hey, after 12 years, I'm telling you, 12 years of training, I accomplished a lot of things that you're gonna hear in this podcast because I did that first.
That first tournament, you pierced the veil.
Man, once that shame was gone, that's it. I was like, okay, let's go. So after that, it was like, hey, let's go to Santo Domingo. Santo Domingo from Manta is like 5 hours drive. And remember that our drives are way different than yours because we're not doing the same distance. What it takes time is just the roads are really bad.
That's hard to understand.
So imagine a trip that you do here, let's put Austin, let's put Houston.
Flower Mound even. Come to Flower Mound.
Exactly. Let's do a 3-hour drive.
Okay.
So how many miles do you get in a 3-hour drive? Maybe 200, 250.
Yeah, maybe.
So
Depending
with
on
250 miles, you do like an 8-hour drive.
Is that right?
I think you do the whole country, kind of. You know what I mean? With that distance.
Yeah.
But what it takes a lot of time is like the roads are really, it's not shallow, but really thin.
Just
narrow.
Yeah.
And you have a lot of scenery that is dangerous, right?
Yeah.
Because
you mean like mountains.
We have the mountains that is the Sierra. So I think when Sam came here, he was in Quito as well. So Quito, we have the biggest mountains, right? We have the Chimborazo. So the Chimborazo, they say if you count from the sea level, is higher or a little bit higher than the Himalayas. And that's crazy because
that's
you're
kind of like the Sierra Nevada range here, and like they're not that physically tall, but they start at sea level, you know.
And you're already up high, and you just have to keep on going.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And after that, you know, you have to take your time. But growing up over there, it was like, okay, I already know that I'm competitive. I already know that I'm having my awards and I'm competing. I'm starting to get, you know, the first one, it was just the worst. I get tapped. Everybody saw that, and I was like, "Oh, I'm not made for that."
Yeah, and you're a kid too.
And I'm a kid. Tough, you disappoint yourself.
Yeah.
But you're like, okay, let's go back, because when I went to training that Monday, or maybe I took like a 2-week off, right? Like I need to clear my mind. But after that, I was like, well, I do like this, and this have given me so much confidence in myself, so much drive, and it's something that I still look forward, and I still thinking about that match. And what is rewarding is that jiu-jitsu always gives you your payback. This same guy, you know, he maybe he's right now a black belt, but he's not practicing, and he's not doing this pursuit of a greater understanding. You know, he just got his black belt, and he's like, okay, I'm just gonna devote to other things. I'm like, perfect. But whenever I was already a brown belt and I was more seasoned competitor, we rolled, and I'm like, okay, I can beat you right now. You were my trauma, but right now I'm able to surpass you.
Right.
And it's not that I hate the person itself, but I hate the trauma that comes with seeing him. So after that,
this was like a formative part where like this, you know, you could have gone either way, it sounds like.
But I put the hours, and I always have this competitive mindset of like, hey, this guy, he's kind of my same age, kind of my same weight, similar type, similar build. But what is my difference? He's doing this, I'm doing this. What is gonna push me forward? I'm gonna be every single day, 30 minutes before, stretch, do some conditioning. That was my drive. And after that, I started applying like, hey, I started with the kids class. When I grew, like, maybe, you know, I was the second tallest on that class, they were like, hey, you know, let's start cross training. This transition from a kid to doing the adults class. And for sure, you're gonna get smashed, right? Beat up.
Man. I mean, like, you got all these guys with adult strength, and then you know,
and
you're physically
not
that size, but you're not quite, you know, you haven't, you know, picked up enough weight yet or whatever. And, and I'm most likely like 15 years old, but I'm able to realize that my technique is way advanced than them. But you always see the bigger kids. I'm not telling the adults, I'm telling the, you know, the seniors, right? Like, you know, your son's age, like senior, 17 to 18, that they're already like blue belts or something like that. And they start going to college, but they always beat you, right? And you're like, okay, you know, this is my time in the conservatory. They're already gone. They're already, you know, doing college and everything. And whatever they pick, that's perfect for me. But I'm going to grind this day. So I'm going to be able to stay early and leave late. Every single time. I have to shout out my first teachers, right? I start with Jinga, with Marito, right? Sam over there, Kaiser Paja, Ciso Mota. And I was the kid that he never had somebody to pick him up, you know, to pick him back, you know, to take me home. Because my mom was like, hey, you know, get somebody to drop you off. And, you know, we were in a nice neighborhood. We still over there. We still live over there. But my teacher, he lived in the neighborhood nearby. So he was like, hey, you know, I take you after the advanced class. So I was doing So you always
kids.
had extra training, it sounds like.
Yeah, I always did like kids. I always did, you know, the physical training. And after that, I did the... the white belt schedule, and after that the advanced class. And it was just insane because I was like, hey, I'm passionate about this, and I know all these years of repetition and doing this is gonna drive me to another dimension. Sadly, it just separates you a lot from the normal, because I couldn't relate anymore to my school friends.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went out. I like video games.
3 or 4 hours a day. I mean,
Oh yeah,
dude. I mean, like that's you're the kids that are doing other stuff and
that's it.
Goofing off and whatnot, doing little kid stuff, and then you're building a margin in between the two, your groups there.
I'm telling you,
it's kind of unavoidable.
Is to make and start a void in between the normal society, because
that's awesome, man.
There were a lot of people that they were doing a lot of things, but I'm like, okay, but what's gonna separate me?
Yeah.
So I don't go and go party weekends. I'm like, no, I'm cool. I just like to be with my family and have something to eat and maybe barbecue Sunday.
Yeah.
That's perfect for me. I can be on my feet on Monday to start grinding again.
Yeah.
So that separates me a lot, and that gets me to that develop of, hey, I start being this kid that everybody, beat up. He has something with him. Yeah. He has some talent for sure.
Were you the only kid in the class? I mean,
no, there were a lot.
Did they allow other kids to come up too? I mean,
so I was one of the first kids that they were like, hey, come here. But they were already kids that they passed through that.
Yeah.
They were already like maybe 16 to 18 kind of.
Yeah.
And
they
were
the tough phase, man.
And it's a tough phase because you're gonna be the one that is the nail every single day.
I know, man. I trained with my older son. I was probably about a blue belt. He's 23 now, I think 24. He was about 14 at the time. And it was something that we could do together. But he's
something bonding.
He's a big kid, man. He was 160, 170 pounds as a 14-year-old, Mm-hmm. So, and then he wrestled and he had done jujitsu in the kids class. And so like, I would sit there and I would watch some of the other adults and I'm like, dang, man, like they've got to go harder on him, but he's also a kid, what I mean? So you're like, as a dad sitting there watching this go, I mean, that your kid just needs to get beat on for a while, but at the same time, it's a tough balance. So I'm sure that like, luckily, it sounds like you had some good mentors in the gym that were looking after you, and I'm sure you were giving some adults some hard times as well. And then like, what are they going to do? They're going to hurt somebody. If they hurt somebody, they lose no matter what because it's a teenager.
So what's funny is that I was already ranking up. I did.
Were you a blue belt yet?
So right now I was in this phase of like being yellow to, I think it was green, right? Okay. So that's the path of a juvenile. Like green is the last one of the juvenile. Okay. You can be a juvenile blue belt that I did. I was like, I think 16 or 17 when I got my blue belt. Okay. So before that, I gave a lot of hard time to like big people. I'm telling you, these guys that they're not competing and everything, but they go to training, they put the work. Mm-hmm. And I remember I was rolling with this guy that he's like a friend from my uncle over there. And he was like at least 100 kilos. I'm telling you, 2'2", right? Yeah. 220. And, everybody was rolling and everything. And he was like, oh, this kid is not going to do anything, right? I was playing guard. And everybody was like, oh my God, he's gonna actually do it. I grabbed both sleeves and I dug under and I just got this strength from within and pushed and got him into a balloon. A balloon, right? A balloon sweep, right? Yeah. I think, Master Rafael Barbosa, he's famous for that one.
He loves that one, man. I've seen him launch, I don't know, 100 people.
Oh, yeah.
It's almost like people want to get thrown like that by him.
And you don't.
You don't, but I can
assure you don't.
Will you balloon sweep me?
But I did that being, like a 14-year-old kid. Yeah. And everybody's like, everybody that was expecting is like, oh my God, he's going to throw this 220 guy in order to do the balloon sweep, and he failed, and everybody was like, oh my God, what's that? And I'm like, that's called technique. That's called supremacy of the technique. And growing up,
it's so funny you say that,
it's so
man.
funny.
One of the things that's cool about kids that come up, first of all, that's kind of an unusual path. Like even now that you have these well-established kids programs, there's a period where people just fall off. Like you don't see a lot. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I just personally don't see a lot of kids that have come up and get to the level that you're at right now, and then just continue and continue and continue. But one of the cool things about kids is like they don't have all these like self-imposed limitations. Like for example, if you're like trying to teach an adult, white belt, blue belt, whatever, like the back step or something. They're I don't know. My body doesn't work that way. They're all clumsy with their feet. Where kids, it's like, do a cartwheel pass. They're like, cool. They do a cartwheel. You know, they just like don't have any limitations in their mind. They're like, I believe you. The technique is there. This is what you're telling me to do. The mind's just so much more malleable, I guess, at that age. I'm that way too. I'm like, no way. My body doesn't work that way. For a kid, he's like, sure, you tell me I can do that. That's what I'm supposed to do. Awesome. I'm going to backstep. So it just works, you know?
So it was like works, really, like really funny. It was like in this Jesus and Jiu-Jitsu event, we had kids, right? The kids
did you? Okay,
yeah,
cool.
The kids were over there. And I'm telling you, all those kids doing flips like it's nothing. I'm like, oh my God, I do remember being that kid that I was like, hey, do this.
Dude, I've seen some of your videos, man. You had a video that's out there. Like, we'll talk about your social media account and whenever you want. But there was a video that you were doing. And I'm going to totally... First of all, your videos are in Spanish.
Oh, yeah.
so
I'm trying to get the dub.
Unfortunately, I don't speak Spanish.
I'm telling you, I'm trying to get the dub, and I try to do another work of like dubbing everything that I have. But it's
good stuff, dude. I mean, because obviously you present really well, and your videos are awesome. And it's Rolemos El Mundo?
Yes.
Okay.
So...
That's your YouTube channel?
Yes.
Okay. It's in Spanish, so if you speak Spanish, fantastic. If you don't, you'll enjoy the videos nonetheless. But you've got a lot where you go through a bunch of techniques. And there's these ones, and I think you were a brown belt at the time. You come like flying in on these rolls or something, dude. And out of nowhere, I'm not even embellishing it. It looks like a cannonball came in, dude. And you've got your partner sitting there ready to do like a series of events or whatnot. And of course, I don't know what they would be called because it was in Spanish. And I didn't know the technique myself, but all of a sudden I see this like barreling cannonball version of Jose come flying into the screen.
That's incredible.
So I can only imagine what you'd be like as a kid, dude.
And I'm telling you,
that was probably a couple years ago too.
What happened is I started this channel with the same roll the world motion.
Obviously, like pre-black belt, all that stuff. I mean, this goes back. So this was a vision of yours, apparently.
So what I always have some content of competitions, right? I won a lot of international awards, and I was able to feel myself that I was the representative or something bigger. So I went to Florianopolis, right, in Brazil, and I was able to pick my city flag, put it over there, awesome, put it up high over there. And I'm like, I end up losing the final against good Almeida guy. It was like 8-4 or 8-2 or 6-2, something like that. But but I
probably
took
not 8-2.
But I took the pride on, hey, I'm able to fulfill my patriotic dream.
That's awesome, man.
Going to another, so cool. Going to another.
Can you speak Portuguese?
I do.
Do you really?
I do.
Man.
Yeah.
All these skills in your tool belt, dude. When do you find time to learn all these? I mean, your English is obviously really good. Is your Portuguese fluent or?
So the thing is like, about languages, you need to understand that we have two branches. I'm not gonna say all the other branches. I don't know how many branches do we have, but it's a big tree. Mm-hmm. So everything starts from the root and start branching out.
Okay.
So the English language is from the Anglo.
Okay.
And
I'm taking your word for it because I don't have a clue. My language skills are limited to English and then Japanese.
Oh yeah, and Japanese and
total opposite
Hindu.
Of Spanish and Portuguese and all this other.
So I think we have in the branch we have Spanish, Portuguese, and French.
Okay, makes sense. Latin-based languages.
And I think
we were talking about Latin earlier today too because of the Marine Corps. Semper Fidelis.
It's Semper Fidel.
Yeah.
Yeah, and even though in the universities...
And you were asking me a lot of questions, and it makes more sense now, too. So I have this Marine flag that's usually like the banner when people come in because it's a big red flag. That way people can find the place. And Jose, obviously, you're out there, very curious mind. You're like reading the Latin on it and whatnot. I've literally never read the Latin. And we ended up in this conversation now that makes a lot more sense because I'd never had some of those questions asked. But that's cool. It's interesting the way that your thought process kind of dives in there.
I'm telling you because I'm always being hungry for knowledge and I'm always being curious about things. But understanding Portuguese and trying to learn a new language comes with a lot of failures.
Sure.
With a lot of failures.
Experiments, for sure. I can relate.
So what I did in Brazil, it was like, okay, I'm going to switch my chip.
Okay.
So you can speak this Portuñol, right? Like you heard that about Sam, that he told, hey, everybody was like doing this Portuñol thing.
Yeah.
And it's like Portuñol is just the combination of Portuguese and Spanish. So what you want to do is like, hey, get the words that you don't know in Portuguese and tell them in Spanish, and use the N, or instead of rolling the R like ra, you say ha. Yeah. So it's just some tweaks that you can do, but for sure you're not gonna speak fluently Portuguese, but at least you're gonna be able to make yourself understand. And I did a lot of Uber driving over there because, you know, security in Brazil, you never know. I wasn't from there, so I have a background and I do my own research on what is happening over there. So try to get yourself in the good areas if you don't know. If you know, you can be whenever. But what happened over there, it was like I took all the Uber drivers and I start rambling Portuguese. I stood in Brazil like for 3 months.
Okay.
Switch my chip completely. Okay. Just texting in Spanish.
How old are you at this time?
So, right now it was 2018.
Okay. Got your brown belt yet?
So I was a brown belt over there.
Man.
But yeah, let's go back because I think I jump over some details. But,
no problem.
But what happened over there? It was like I finished my juvenile circle, right?
Yeah.
I finished that one.
Got your blue belt.
And I started
did some competitions.
You know, I always did the competitions. Yep. And I think like competitions back in the day, being a juvenile, it was way more hard than competing as an adult.
Really?
Why?
Because
do you think so? They have these kids from the other cities, maybe Guayaquil, that was way more developed in jiu-jitsu than Manta. In Manta, you have right now like 1 or 2 academies. In Guayaquil, you have 20.
Gotcha. Yeah,
so you have these experienced kids that they were like, you know, your same weight, your same division, and they were really good.
Yeah.
So what happened, it was like you already knew all of them. And they start these kids or juvenile classes, and you start getting a lot of pan champion winners or runner-ups or medalists. And I always try to keep it local.
Were you considered in like one of the small towns, like that had less exposure, or were you part of the big ones?
No, I was from the small town.
From the small town.
And even though I got some exposure because of me, obviously the cameras, they never been on myself.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna go with a experience after that. When I kind of became a legend. I'm not telling you about, you know, like a project or anything, but this feeling after accomplish something that everybody's like, they just can't believe it.
Yeah.
So that's what I consider a legend. Like, oh, you won?
Yeah, to be the underdog and
being
win.
The underdog, and nobody like, obviously they know I train and everything, but they didn't knew that I put all my life into it.
Yeah, they sell
like,
you short.
They didn't knew what I was pursuing. And after that, I have like maybe 30 people coming at me. It's like, did you beat him? I'm like, what? Yeah, I did. You know?
Yeah.
That's people awesome. Were like astonished about, hey, you know, the small town kid just going for it. and taking everything.
That's amazing, man. You see that a lot in like kids wrestling too, where when they do like bigger state tournaments or whatnot, the small towns, they're either going to be very bad because they don't have the resources or the coaching or they focus on football or whatever, or they're going to be freaking good because if they're going to go all in, they're going all in. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? And so, or they
it's
have,
like you don't have anything to lose.
Or they have a kid like yourself that's like, dude, this is what I'm going to do, you know? And, but it seems to be high highs, low lows, you know?
It is.
Yeah.
So what happened over there, it was like you finish up the juvenile, right? Mm-hmm. You have your medals and everything, and you start getting some recognition. Maybe your high school start doing more of, hey, you know, this kid went something here. He went to Guayaquil and beat this competition. And, you know, nothing major, but, you know, people already knew that I was paving my way.
Yeah, right.
I was pursuing that, even though people wanted to be bullies or whatever. I'm like, you know, just keep myself into discussion and keep myself improving. So what happened after the color belts, I went to the blue belt. And blue belt, it was already this transition of maybe 16-year-old or 17-year-old, and I was, you know, my senior years. So I put a lot of effort. I put a lot of like passion into it. I was competing, not having that much success and everything, but the time that I was really focusing on is like whenever you have to leave your small town and go to a big city. Mm-hmm. So I think that's a chapter that always gets me thrilled because it's like leaving Manta, that is like 300,000 people, you know.
Is this up in the mountains?
No, so Manta, I'm from the coast. So
okay, so this is down on the coast, little coastal town.
Exactly.
Yeah, I can see how that would be pretty spread out.
You know, it has good hotels. Like it does have some resources and a lot of wildlife.
Okay.
We have the good thing is we have the beach and we have the forest in between. So when you go deep into the forest, you get into more like a moist environment, like a mist, like something like a jungle.
Yeah.
So you have all that in the same area. You can be passing by the jungle, and after 5 minutes down the road, you have the beach over there, in this downfall beach that you're like, oh my god, crazy.
Why would you ever come to Dallas? I mean, you're describing paradise, dude, and now you're sitting in this like yellow, gray, flat.
and today in Dallas, I'm
very thankful. I love my country. I love my city. It's given me so
as
much.
Well, man.
Oh my god.
But let me tell you, today it was really great.
The beach.
Today in Dallas, hills. Oh my god, today Dallas was really great.
It was,
and I'm
like, it's like Gotham City today.
Exactly.
Batman's gonna come flying there.
I'm telling you.
Anyway, sorry, took us off course.
And you have to understand that every single kid needs to have his marbles.
Yeah.
So when I was doing my blue belt days, I was getting coached by Alan Correa. Alan Correa was this Brazilian dude that he came from Sao Paulo. He already knows Soluso. So he took me under his wing. Kind of, I was, you know, the going to all places that we need to go and really absorb that energy. So he, you know, helped me play he helped me develop my game that I'm gonna be using until this moment. You know, my guard sequences and my understanding of how to fight, because he was pursuing this pro fighter style and pro fighter life. And even though Alan Correa was one of the guys that really influenced Johnny, we were talking about Johnny Tama,
right?
And he can tell you anytime that his game and his mindset went really sharp whenever they start training together. Like every single athlete stomps into a wall, and this coach was the one who made him push forward. And I took that understanding and learning about it. So I was just so impressed of my progression. So this is the time that I took my 17-year-old self with my blue belt and my will to keep on fighting to go to the big city.
Which is the big city?
The big city is called Guayaquil.
Okay.
So Soluso is from Guayaquil. Sam stay over there.
Okay.
They have like at least 20 academies.
Is this where Sam was supposed to be teaching English? And
Yeah, that's exactly where. I think he was in Quito and Guayaquil.
Okay.
But
gotcha.
we're talking about a 3 million population,
Yeah,
a big city.
Yeah, clearly small town to big town. I mean,
Exactly.
like, this is a step up. Sounds like a metropolis of Ecuador.
And it is because we have Guayaquil and we have Quito. So Quito is our capital.
Okay.
We have the the equator, the middle of the world. We have all these historic landmarks.
Okay.
But
and again, this is like a learning lesson for me. Note to self: I need to do my homework on.
Do you?
Yes, I do, man. I'm embarrassed.
About Post Malone.
Well, about Ecuador. I mean, Jesus, I knew you were from Ecuador. I should have done at least a little background on your country.
Yeah, like if you review the cases, we have the Amazonia too. That's where they have a lot of petroleum as well.
Is that right? It sounds amazing.
Yeah, and it's a country that you're gonna say like, oh my God, this is just going back to the root, right?
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, since I did my bachelor's degree, I was like always thinking about what is the difference in years.
Is that what took you to the big city? Was starting university?
Yes.
Okay.
So I did university, and that was the time that I was like, okay, I thought about quitting. I thought about like, hey, I'm just a 17-year-old. You can't drive. Like, it just costs a lot of money to get the 16-year-old permit.
Okay.
So I was like, okay, I was taking bus.
Yeah.
Like, I was living like an hour from the university.
Is it common for people at that age to drive in Ecuador?
17, no.
No. Okay.
So they wait until the 18. But if you have the money, it's like, hey, you can do it.
Okay.
But this transition was hard because you're like, okay, I have the academy that I can go in 15 minutes and I already put so much time in it.
Yeah.
And my skill, like...
And these are all are these related academies? I mean, like your coastal town.
So everybody knows Soluso, and Soluso is being in every single academy start branching out.
Is it Alliance? I mean, is it
Yes.
clearly affiliated?
So right now they're not, but back in the day they were.
So it was a clear transition. You had a common coach, you had a common professor, I guess, and that. I mean, it was an easy transition from one academy to the next?
Oh, no, it was a hard transition because you have a lot of academies over there. And all these guys that they went to Manta and visit us, made some seminars. You were like, okay, I can train with him. So I can say some examples like, okay, Ley Turralde, he's the coach and one of the greatest Ecuadorian black belts. I'm telling you, MMA days, like everybody knows Leo Turralde as a beast, as somebody that goes into the octagon and just demolish people, and his jiu-jitsu is just flawless. Like, you see him competing right now and it's just above his competition. He's
really?
a master 1 or something,
and
he's always like first place, but you see his matches and it's like there is no contest.
Wow.
Like, okay, this guy that did one fight and lost the final, it's like, yeah, cool, but when you realize the difference in levels, it's like, okay, watching Formiga doing the an open or whatever, like it's just a void of experience.
It's really hard to understand that too.
And you want to seek that. You want to seek all these big black belts. You want to seek all this knowledge. You want to be able to understand what they went through. So going to Guayaquil, it was that transition of, hey, right now I can be able to train with my coach, with Soluso, with the guy who gave me my color belts. And after that I have some, I received my blue belt by Alan Correa, but Soluso was always on my way, right?
Okay.
So in the same university that I graduate from, and I still was underage when I did college. I was 17. What happened? It was he was training in that same gym. So they have this Coliseum, this gym. It was called the Cyber Gym. And he was there. They have the mat and everything.
In the university.
In the university.
Oh man, so your excuses are running out.
So
there's no way you're gonna not train at this point.
So I start training over there. I train in different academies back to back. But the first year
just to get cross training, just to get more mat time. Just
and understand people. Right now, I've been doing that, but
in Dallas, you've been doing that, yeah. The self-described Ronin, I suppose.
Exactly. and so what happened over there? It was in Guayaquil. I got my gym bag. Man, I was the lonely rider. I was just in this, like metro station waiting for the bus or anything with this big ass bag that has a gi, has some gym clothes, my books.
Yeah.
I didn't have like a laptop back in the day. It was more of books.
Yeah.
Because if you have a laptop, you're gonna get stolen. So hopefully it never got stolen. But I was just that guy.
Yeah.
Starting the day really early at the university and try to do my whole day. Sometimes I was like starting at 7 a.m. and leaving at 8, and I got to my house at 10 and just sleep, go back.
Yeah.
So I got the chance to train with them, and after I don't know, maybe 1 or 2 semesters, they shut down the academy. They were doing another gym.
This is the one inside the university that
yes.
they shut down? Okay.
They shut down that one.
Seems like it's too good to be true.
Bro, they put a golden gym in a parking lot. God. And I was like, oh my God. Yeah. They took this, because this gym, it was like Arnold's days, like pumping iron dream.
Okay.
Rusty gym.
Okay.
I'm telling you that the rusty weights, the weights that if you get caught up, hey, go get a vaccine, because maybe you can have something in that. And the gym, man, it was tough as nails. Big names over there. Big names going back and forth, doing the strength training.
Okay.
So I saw that and I'm like, okay, perfect. So what happened? They shut down that. They shut it down, and I'm like, oh my God, what am I gonna do? But things pile up, and I managed to keep on going. I've been in so many different gyms, being instructor. Just in one time of my experience, I was just grinding down with this Brazilian dude that he has this academy on downtown Guayaquil. Really dangerous part, and I was sleeping on the mats, just waiting to him to come and do training. We did hours of just back to back training, and it was insane. And I'm like, okay, I'm separating myself. And even though I went to the pro trainings, the big pro trainings where these all young guns, they were over there, I was like, man, I'm already in the level. I can realize, they can beat me sometimes, but I'm already here. I'm already pursuing that. And when I was there, I started getting some submissions on them. I'm talking about the elite of Guayaquil BJJ scenery.
What rank are you at this time?
What rank?
Yeah. Are you still a blue belt? Did they?
So I was a blue belt.
Okay.
So I did in blue belt. I got the. We represent the university. It was Alliance Católica.
Okay.
So Catholic. So the university is Universidad Católica Santiago de Guayaquil. And we represent that with this team. It was like a fight, like a group fight. It was like 5 versus 5.
Okay.
So we were repping the university name and the university team. And after that, it was, these are all already, I think 3 are black belts and 2 of them are like brown or purple. But what happened, it was the captain. He's already a black belt. He has his own team over there in Guayaquil. The other one, it was myself, repping and pursuing the dream, right? And this big wrestler over there that we've been having this kind of like rivalry, but we are friends. You know what I mean? Like, I hate you, but I love you kind of kind of relationship.
I've got a few of those, yeah.
And man, we won that competition so bad. We were under 75 kilos, and we won that without getting scored or without getting without getting any loss. Like, we just went 3-0, 3-0, and we won that. And I'm like, man, we're finishing all those fights. We are over the top, winning over big teams, big names. I'm talking about the same Leiturralde Academy. He has a big competition team. We beat them all. We beat Predator over there. And I'm like, man, we do have something great. And after that, the captain got his purple belt. He started going his way and everything. And after that, we keep on grinding. So I got my purple belt that year, but on the like Christmas ascensions, the promotions.
Okay. Is that how they did it? They connected it somehow to Christmas, or?
Normally they do the promotions in December.
Okay.
So it's like, hey, so Luso gave me my purple belt after that. So
I mean, was this tied to Christmas in some way? I mean, was there a holiday aspect to it, or is this essentially just happens to be December like it is here?
I think it has this factor of like, maybe it's like you make Christmas for your teacher kind of thing. Like,
okay, that's cool. Was it a party?
Yeah, they have the promotion party.
Okay, that's awesome.
And they have a big promotion parties over there. Even though it can be a promotion, in an open mat or anything, but they gather around. It's like, hey, we're gonna get a venue. We're gonna get some important belts. I'm talking about, hey, first degree,
couple black belts, maybe.
Couple black belts, the degrees of them, maybe purples and brown belts. Yeah, man. And what's interesting here, it was like, okay, I was already in this path of competing, really consistent, and I already got a scholarship, and this was really weird because
a college scholarship, meaning
the college scholarship, it was like, hey, you're gonna have your whole semester chopped to half.
Okay.
So I was like, okay, that's something that there is a lot of people that they pursue through the academy, academics.
Yeah.
And it's just hard. You have to be an A+ student.
Yeah.
And since I graduated with a lot of women, they were fighting that really fearsomeness. You know what I mean? They wanted that, and just one or two people, they have the scholarship. And sadly, I was like, being honest, I'm never gonna get an academic scholarship. So what you can do,
you and me both, bud.
Exactly.
Don't worry.
So what you can do, it was like, I have two things. Or start.
I still count on my fingers.
Oh my god. So the thing, it was like, start working out, working and pay some of the college, or see what you can do. Like my brother, he did like start helping out the teacher, and they give you like 25% for that. But I was like, that's a lot of work for that. So
especially
gladly,
when you're training jiu-jitsu for 4 hours a day.
Man, gladly I got this friend of mine that he was already in the college for a long time, and he told me, hey, let's do a team, let's do all the paperwork, and let's post it to the sports commission.
Mm-hmm.
And long story short, we got accepted.
Really? And so this is now an official team of the university.
Exactly, the first one, because right now they all are like, hey, I'm from jiu-jitsu, I'm gonna get my scholarship. I'm like, no, back in the day, you have to earn that. You have to make all the paperwork in order to do that.
I mean, as a parent now of a college graduate and one that's going to college next year, I mean, we are pushing for scholarships. So like, maybe you're gonna have to talk to my son, like, go build up a jiu-jitsu team in Lubbock, Texas.
I can do that for sure, because I'm telling you, back on that time, my brother and I were living together. My brother was already finishing up, but I was,
older brother, I guess.
My older brother, he's like maybe 2 or 3 years older.
Okay.
So what happened, it was like he was finishing up, but my dad and my mom were like, hey, we're kind of tied over here, like two full,
dude, believe me, I totally get it. I mean, having 2 kids in college,
and paying housing, paying not even housing, paying just food and everything is a lot.
Yeah, man, parents prepare for their life for that. I mean, that's kind of one of those events.
It is.
So when did you? I mean, you mentioned that you spent a few months in Brazil, and obviously, I want to get into America and that transition. But what was it? I mean, what was the push over to Brazil? Was that just kind of a? I mean, did it feel like a pilgrimage of sorts? I mean, it sounds like your training was pretty top level in Ecuador. Did you just want to push yourself with new training partners? Did you want to compete, or what drove you to move to the next step?
So what happened over there? It was I already achieved the highest achievements in jiu-jitsu in Ecuador. I've been competing for a long time, and I was that guy that he's not from the big city, but he's playing it big. Yeah. He goes to the competitions and wins weight and absolute. Like I won in my city, I won the weight and absolute. That it was like an insane competition. I'm telling you, like 7 fights. I did my weight and my absolute. Man, and everybody wants to destroy me, but I was like, no, this is my town, and the major sports organization over there is the Circuito Ecuatoriano, so like Ecuadorian circuit of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Okay. Circuito Ecuatoriano Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, right? And I already accomplished that on the blue belt, playing, going for the weight and absolute, and I did that representing my college as well. So I already have a lot of background, and after I finish up with that golden like step or the basic, I was just ready to go international. Yeah. I already did so much improvement in my life. I already did so much improvement in my overall performance. Yeah. That I got this. Okay, let's finish up. You already got yourself into the best blue belt in the country. Let's close that chapter. Let's go to the purple belt. That, by the way, was one of the longest belts that I did. I think blue and purple, they were like 3 years each, competing, like being active, and after I accomplished everything, I was performing in order to keep on maintaining my scholarship. I got to the purple belt level. Things ranked up. I start competing against Pan Am runner-ups or big names on that time. People that they were pushing themselves to keep on going, to keep on competing internationally. So I started my first international competition when I was a purple belt.
Okay, and this is in Brazil, or?
The first one was in Lima, Peru.
Oh, in Peru, okay.
So I went there, and man, I'm telling you, that was a big step for me, because got me to the understanding that I have something within me and that nobody had. Like, I went to Peru. It was freezing cold. Not freezing cold, but it was cold, right? Like here, kind of winter, like here. It was cold. And we were sleeping on the mat from some academy. Shout out to Tano, he's the promoter of the organization over there that is Torneos Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu Peru. So it's the tournaments of Peru. Awesome. And he received us in his academy, and it was a really uncomfortable flight, because after being all like tied up from that flight, you have to go and sleep in an academy that I was grateful, but I did a lot of introspection on that, and in my mind I felt so secure and so sure that I was gonna beat that, and I was sure that I was not the best athlete, but in my mind there was nothing that could harm me.
Mm-hmm.
And funny story, I travel with these guys that we've been having a lot of background in competitions, and he lost the final, right? We were I was doing lightweight, he was doing featherweight, and his mind wasn't in that place. He can be, I think, better than me and everything, but he lost the final because he was like, oh no, I'm overweight, I didn't put the time, I need to get something that can help me cut weight. So he lost a lot of liquids and everything, and after that this dehydration from try to weight cut, he didn't make it. And I was like, right now is my time. I did 2 fights. No, I think I did the hardest bracket. I did 3 fights. I won by all of them. I won by points, but it was like that fact of, hey, seeing different logos. Mm-hmm. So that first experience of seeing you right now, you're seeing Gigo Jiu-Jitsu, you're seeing Almeida Jiu-Jitsu. You're like, oh my God, the stakes are higher. You just went to your hometown competition setting to right now, you have more fandom, you have maybe more logo types going around. And we were in Lima, man, so beautiful city. And I was able to say like, hey, right now I'm the Lima Open champion. And I was like, I felt so good after that I was like, okay, I do have something. I went to Lima. I have these big fights, big names in my bracket, and I beat them all. Mm-hmm. What was that? Because I could lose. And even though I was able to feel secure and feel free in myself, I have some of the footage in YouTube. I think I'm gonna do some remakes on, hey, that was the final of that of the Lima Open. And back
Make sure to put it in English.
Yes. The thing is, like, I'm telling you, man, I'm gonna start dubbing a lot. I have a lot of work to do with the dubbing.
I mean, obviously, it should be in Spanish as well. But I mean, like, so many people here I know would want to, but they're lazy like me and they refuse to learn another language.
And I'm telling you, man, understanding different languages is tough.
Oh, it's impressive, man. I mean, like, I always feel inadequate as a human, when I find other people that speak so fluently in different languages or operate in other countries as well as you do.
I think that was my introspection on things. Like, okay, I always thought that I want to learn English, mm-hmm. and I always put myself in shame, or I always was willing to fight to fail, to fall into like, hey, that's not the way you say it. Like, oh, what are you talking about? So it's just really weird to start understanding that you can have a big conversation, you can create content in other languages and be able to, hey, bond in other languages, or make somebody laugh in other languages. Like, right. Understanding that chapter is like, oh my God.
Most people don't understand, and I don't want to, I mean, we will get way off topic here, but I think most people that haven't spent a good amount of time traveling, that are native English speakers, don't understand how spoiled we are as English speakers. Because most of the world will communicate with you in English. Even in Europe, like, Europeans will communicate amongst each other in English because they can't speak each other's native languages. The French couldn't speak German, German couldn't speak French in general, right? So they'll speak to each other in English. And as an American or as a Brit or a Canadian going through, you're like, this is awesome. The whole world speaks English. I'm so lucky. But you're missing the big, like, like to be able to communicate like you do. And your grammar is fantastic. But at any rate,
I'm telling you, props to my wife, man. Like, she have been so patient with you.
Oh man, you're lucky.
With the proficiency of with the aspect of being proficient and
it's amazing,
make yourself understand and have some sense of humor. And even though I realize that this is, again, way off topic, but I like stand up.
I'm always way off topic, man.
That's incredible. I went to see a stand up. And this guy started to speak, just ramble in Spanish. And I'm like, this dude, what in the world? Like, what's happening? Like, because he was the last act and he started like rambling like maybe 1 or 2 minutes in Spanish. And after that, he make this like joke like, oh, I thought that it was, like a Spanish speaker crowd. And
was anybody laughing?
Bro, everybody was like dying, like cracking up. And this guy is, I think is, Mateo Hernandez. He's right now in the SNL cast.
Oh, really? Oh, that's cool, man. That's cool.
I don't know. So this is another pop culture, but you have Jack Harlow. Jack Harlow is,
don't know who he is. I probably should.
Emmy rapper nominee or whatever, have a big name.
Okay.
So he did his his SNL episode, and this Marcelo Hernandez or Michael Hernandez, something like that, he was in all of the sketches, and I'm like, okay, this dude made it. And 2 weeks before, I was seeing him doing stand-up at this 14th Street Comedy Club.
Really?
That it was free.
That's crazy.
Free.
Man. That's crazy.
I'm telling you, I was just cracking up. I'm like, oh my God, this guy really made it.
Yeah.
And I'm well aware that in that whole show, because New York comedy is really quick. Mm-hmm. It's really like, hey, next. In my opinion, there were way more and way funnier guys, but this guy made it into the SNL cast. So people were cracking up about him, about his jokes and everything, and I was like, man, for me it's not that funny, but
somebody saw something in him.
Somebody saw something,
dude. We moved to Texas 5 years ago. We got here in March of 2018, so exactly 5 years ago. And before that, raised our kids down in South Florida, so Fort Lauderdale, Miami area. Everybody speaks Spanish, like except me.
They do.
And so in my work, we were down in right next to the Miami airport. So I mean, basically, 3 miles from Hialeah, right next to Little Cuba. I mean, everybody that worked in our company spoke Spanish, and if you didn't, you just didn't participate. And I remember one time I was at a normal haircut place, like Great Clips or something like that. You can see my hair. Obviously, it's not very stylish. It's basically
just a fade.
This is
Exactly.
So I'm sitting there, and like the lady, everybody in there is speaking Spanish, and it becomes really clear that and the guy next to me is a white guy like me, and he and I had just kind of like had exchanged hellos, and I could tell he's like not from Miami. Like his accent is not Miamian, right? It has no Spanish in it. So he speaks native English, and he's speaking Spanish to the haircut people. And then they look at me, and I could tell they're talking about me. I'm not too worried about it. And then the guy's like, do you not speak Spanish? And I'm like, no. And he goes, where are you from? I go, the United States, dude.
I'm from here.
And he's like, oh, okay. And I'm like, sorry, dude. I don't know what the hell you guys are talking about.
Anyway,
totally off topic.
I'm telling you, Florida, Texas are, I think, and California, I think one of the main, two or three states that you can do your living without knowing English.
If you live in the United States now, you should learn Spanish. Like at some point, like in my life, I'm gonna have to sit. My kids learn Spanish. My older son speaks Spanish. It's just I'm the one that's I'm kind of behind the curve. You're on top of things, but okay. So I know you spent some time in Brazil. I want to get to some of these perspective questions, but before we really get into that, and I know we're skipping over a lot of stuff. Did you get your black belt down in South America, or did you get it up in the United States?
What I get in the
Where did you get your black belt from?
The black belt I got from Soluso. It was in the pandemic days, so 2020.
Okay.
So this is my 3rd year as black belt. Hopefully, I'm gonna get my first stripe soon.
Ooh, yeah, man.
So maybe
it always looks so much better with that one stripe.
Oh my God, but I'm telling you, it's a long time.
I mean, clearly you've earned it, man.
You're just seeing everybody just getting the stripes every single 2 months, and you're like, oh my God, I'm so jealous of people getting the stripe. But it makes sense, because that's what shows mastery of something. Yeah. That you're able to grind every single day for 3 years in order just to get a stripe.
Yeah.
And after that, it's just another one and another one. But how long? How many people have you influenced?
Yeah.
Like, those are the questions that I'm like, okay, let's soak that in and say, like, how many people do you have roll with?
Yeah.
How many people and I'm talking just about the black belt. I'm putting the past on the past. Perfect. I already did all the photo shoots with the previous accomplishment. Perfect. But as a black belt, how many people have you reached? Have you influenced? Have you talked to? Have you just give a good tip?
Yeah.
And you're like, that's what is gonna get your stripe.
What I noticed is that, and it's interesting because the episode that would have come out before yours is James Faulkner. James is a friend of mine, really good jiu-jitsu black belt, just got his black belt from Formiga, but he's my age, you know? And so like, you know, we've clearly had different journeys. I mean, and one of the questions that I asked him is what's it like? I mean, most of the black belts that are his age would have been a similar story to yours, and they would have had 10 years as a black belt, you know, like, and that's where you're going to be when you're in your 30s and 40s because you came up at such a young age.
I already did the math.
Yeah. And so I'm like, I asked him, I'm like, what's it like to get your black belt, you know, and have to play in this new game with people that have got 10, 20 years of experience at it, you know? And so, and then on your side, like you're having to grind through as a freaking adult competitor in these deep waters with guys like Rodrigo and all these others.
Oh my God, I'm telling you.
And so like
facing
there's just no easy
the soul
path,
fighters
man.
Is no joke.
There's just no easy
and you're gonna
path.
feel it. I'm sure.
Can we talk about your black belt a little bit? I mean, and like how you got that and what that meant to you and I mean so let's go there. I mean, at what point did it start to become clear? I mean, you've got a really successful upbringing. It sounds like you won everything that you could possibly win, going through what seems like the whole tip of the northern part of South America. you know, you got Ecuador, probably Colombia, Peru.
I didn't compete in Colombia, but I just did Peru, and after that, just national. But what happened, it was like, okay, I did pick in blue, and since I accomplished the international level in purple belt, I won everything that I could in purple belt because we have the team fights. So this team fight is the national team fight, and it's like a Brazilian protocol that you're gonna be like a team against the team. So the best team is gonna win. So I did that 3 years in every single belt. So we won, right? We won purple belt representing Católica. Oh, my bad. Blue belt representing Católica, purple belt representing Alliance Urdesa, and advanced that it was like brown and black belt. We won representing, I think it was like Alpha or something like that. Some team, because you know, whenever they need me, I'm like, hey, you know, I'm brown belt, you know, I can fight with you guys, so let's do it. So
that's awesome.
I won you know, in all these different teams, I won blue, purple, brown belt as you know, the national team champions, right?
That's cool.
So
did you guys have the flag on your gi and stuff? I mean, or how
we got a trophy, and you know, I always got some flag and everything.
That's awesome, man.
But purple belt, I'm telling you, I won so many titles, but I did them in years because I was like, okay, what I need right now is win the nationals. The nationals was the peak of the peak over there. So they do it in Guayaquil, and the nationals were like 4 fights as a purple belt. So I was facing top level competitors. Like, I already have my Peru year was the first year on the purple belt scheme, and after that, just keep on piling the titles and everything. Keep on competing, keep on studying. And when I peaked and I did the last competition as a purple belt, I was already recognized by mostly all of the Ecuadorian community as a team leader, as somebody that is respected. And I won the nationals in featherweight, 70 kilos. Man, after 4 fights, it was hellish. It was a lot of work. But when I got that, I was like, okay, Purple belt is clear. You know what I mean? I don't have anything else to win in this. Won the national championship, won the nationals, won the home classic, big competitions all in Guayaquil. So I was like, okay, this is it. I got my brown belt, and my brown belt was given to me in my academy in my ex academy in Manta by Soluso and Gigi Paiva. So the two, Soluso, the main professor in Ecuador, and Gigi Paiva, he was one of the founders of Alliance. So Sam got his black belt from Master Jacare. So you have Master Jacare, Fabio Burgel, and Gigi Paiva. Those are the three founders. Okay. So having that, honored.
Yeah, man.
I'm telling you, honored to have Gigi over there and put my brown belt, and my coach over there, Ariel Pereira, he was helping me out with, hey, go train here in Urdes. I give you the gym and everything. So I was already somebody that he, respect and wanted to be there. And he was there. Like everybody that I knew that I was like influenced by, they give me my, hey, this is your brown belt. This is the way to the professional level.
Yeah.
That's why I went to Brazil.
Gotcha.
I got my brown belt and I said, let's go.
Yeah. Could you already speak Portuguese at this point, or this is you're experimenting with Uber drivers and
So before going to Brazil, I did some Portuguese with the Brazilians, right? Normally I was really
That's kind of what Sam said too. He said that he was around.
You were around them, and maybe they're in like a room where they live. They just train, eat, and repeat. So I'm like, hey, you wanna
get a chance to communicate.
Get a chance to communicate, play some chess, like whatever you need to. Like we were trying to talk, and they were trying to speak back in Spanish. But I'm cool. Like, I'm gonna learn as well.
That's awesome.
And after that, I did Brazil. Brazil was I landed in Rio, and I took a flight to Florianopolis. That is this beautiful island that have like 50 beaches. Like just it's just amazing. It's they call the Ilha of paradise, right? Like this island of paradise.
Yeah.
And you have so many like European heritage. So it was just amazing. I like it. But I just went to compete. I did some competitions. That's where I put the
Ecuadorian flag.
The Manta flag, my town flag, and it was just rewarding.
That's
and
so
after
cool.
that, I get some training over there.
It's amazing photo shoot right
there.
Oh
my God, it was incredible.
Yeah.
And all being that underdog that nobody knows, and boom, he got a submission on the brown belt. He got some photo shoots from professionals, and I'm like, okay, that's cool. And after that, I went to Rio de Janeiro. That's where the hellish training started.
Okay.
I started training with Gigi Paiva in Rio de Janeiro. His son, like all these black belts, man. It was just an insane training. I'm telling you, that was one of the trainings that I always remember. That it was just so exhausting, and I always when out of training, just try to call the Uber because I was like, I need to walk. I just can't. My legs were limp.
Yeah.
And I start understanding the depth of like older community in jiu-jitsu. I'm telling you, the appearances can fool you. I was fighting. I was already, a seasoned brown belt, and the black belts were killing me. But I was like, okay, I'm gonna fight this old black belt, old but 6 or 7 degree, and I'm like, I'm gonna beat him. not a chance. Like, he wasn't stronger than me, but he was always pursuing, always pushing, and always dominating me. And I'm like, oh my God, this is just insane, but it's just so rich in understanding technique and understanding fight, that I was like, okay, this is gonna make me better. There's nothing else. And even though I went to meet a lot of people, because Alliance Rio, it was like this training facility where people from all over South America travel to. Like this, the Chile guys. The Chile guys, they have a lot of background, like a lot of sports background, but they were always pursuing a better technique. So they were doing like a yearly trip to Rio de Janeiro. So they were, they could get the boost, right?
That's cool. It's nice to have a place like that where everybody can kind of gather up and
you were over there, and you didn't even knew like full Portuguese. You can speak Spanish with the guys from Chile, but long story short, that's where I fought with Rodrigo. We were lightweights at the time. So right now you're going to see that it's like a long time ago. It was 2018.
You guys are both bulked up.
18, man. Yeah. Imagine 6 years ago?
That's 5 years ago, yeah.
I'm like, man, he just demolished me. And I'm like, okay, but this is good. Yeah. I saw tattoo on his corner. It was just insane. That was
That's amazing. What a small world, man. And now you guys are both here. And
I'm telling you. And he even, when I went to do the pro training, Marcus Ancelante, he was like, hey, he said to his wife, to Monique, right? Hey, do you remember this guy? And she was like, I think so.
That's crazy.
And he told her, when I was a lightweight, and she was like, oh. she just rang a bell, and I'm like, wow. Oh, yes.
Small world, man.
It is.
I mean, statistically speaking, right? And I know I probably overused that term, but you guys should not see each other here in Dallas,
telling
dude.
You, no.
That doesn't make sense. You're not even from the same country, and you're in a different country, in a third country, in a random city, training at a gym here, at pro training.
And I'm trying to do more of the warehouses. Shout out to the warehouse BJJ.
Yeah,
they are doing an amazing job, man. I already roll with them separate, and I just can't imagine this training.
They've got a good group there, man.
They just have the the FW best. That's it. I don't foresee anything getting better. You just can get, I don't know, Formiga or something like that, or Sam going in, but after that you just have the creme of the creme.
Yeah, it's awesome, man. It's awesome. All with similar objectives. So get me to the black belt.
So we finish up, all the major, again, I accomplished everything that I need to accomplish in brown belt, international level, going to Brazil, going back to Ecuador.
These are major accomplishments, man. I mean,
and conquer every single national title. That was rich for me.
Yeah. Was this an objective that you had? I mean, was this something that before you got promoted or before you moved to the next step, these are steps that you wanted to complete for yourself, or is this just part of your journey that kind of happened and you were on the train, I suppose? You were a passenger on this train, or were these specific objectives that you had to complete?
So everything comes with opportunity, right? I always been blessed that higher ranks have not something with me, but a deep appreciation. And I don't know why, man. Everybody...
It's probably the hustle, man. It's probably the hustle.
And I'm telling you, I try to honor that, because when I was, in purple belt, I was the one that, hey, I was doing the weight and the conditioning before them. I was, starting before, leaving after. I always have that mindset. If you put the grind, I was, grinding Saturdays, Sundays. If I was all by myself, I call my friend and I'm like, hey bro, do you wanna lift some weights? And I never thought it was weird, but I always have friends that they like the gym, or they like martial arts, or they are into sports. So I always was like, let's do it, right? You help me out, I help you out. And I always have this like free pass for academies.
Yeah.
So I always honor the opportunity when I have a chance in another academy or another gym to be the hardest worker. Even though whatever happens, I was like trying to push myself into time and put in that time, because if you don't do that, you're not gonna be respected, or you're not gonna honor the code or that trust that you earn.
You're definitely not going to get exposure to high-level mentors that way.
You're not.
I mean, because that's building trust. Like, even if you can't create an equal output to what your mentor has, the fact that if somebody mentors you, they see you putting in the work, you putting in the time. I mean, because any mentor that puts a time in, they want a multiple of that in return, right? At a minimum in your best effort. And so it sounds like just intuitively, maybe from your upbringing or maybe from the people that were around you when you were young, you just knew that was a requirement in order to be able to keep these high-level folks coming your way.
Exactly.
And it speaks highly of yourself and the people that raised you.
Yes, props to my family, grandpa, grandma.
Tell them in Spanish if you
exactly.
want, man.
Gracias, mami, papi.
There you go, bro.
Abuelos y abuelas, right? And, you know, I always try to honor that.
Yeah.
And, you know, years went by, competitions went by, and I did my last stop at the brown belt here. So this was the first international Texas
in the
Manta.
United States. Okay.
Yeah, here with Sam, exactly.
Oh, okay, with Sam.
So what happened? It was like this uke thing comes from way back.
Okay.
So
the uke thing, where Sam's using you as your
yes,
as
the dummy,
the crash test dummy.
Exactly. So he came to Ecuador.
People don't know Sam is from Dallas, which is
yes.
where the connection would be, and you should listen to his episode where he covers that. But yeah,
yes, shout out to Sam.
Big shout
and
out
roll
to Sam.
and roll the world
and Rolemos el mundo.
Yes. And what happened over there? It was like he used me as the uke, and you know I was training and we trained together. He was like, hey,
in Ecuador,
in Guayaquil. He did his seminar, and I'm telling you, we always have a good crowd, man. Like in Urdesa, it was in this big gym, and it was like at least 50 people, like lots of black belts, and he used me as a uke, and I was like, oh my god, this is amazing. And we were talking, and I'm like, hey man, you know, I want to keep on going and going to the States, and he was like, come by. And I'm like, are you for real? And he was like, yeah, come by. And I'm like, no, he's pulling my hair. No. And he was like, yeah, whenever you wanted to call me, I'll receive you in my house.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome.
You know, and that happened. Yeah. I came to the United States in 2029 till 2020, right before the pandemic. Okay. So I did some competitions here. I started teaching in English. So
you're a brown belt?
I still was a brown belt.
Okay.
I did, you know, my last international season, like my last, you know, IBJJF Opens, or I think I did one Jiu-Jitsu World League. But, you know, those titles come and go and everything. But, you know, the actual experience of living the dream, right?
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I like this, but I haven't finished my degree yet.
Was this your first trip to the United States?
No, I've been coming back and forth. Normally, I went to New York.
Oh, okay.
I have family over there.
I see.
But, you know, we went to Louisiana back in the day when I was like, 9 years old. Like
a little different.
Even my dad, he graduated from Georgia Southern.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Dang, man, that's crazy.
Yeah.
You guys are all over the place, man.
Man, I'm telling you, it's crazy. And my mom and my dad, they meet up in Florida. So you're like, really? What are the odds?
Yeah. And
they were living together. My mom was living together with this lady, and my dad was like the nephew. And they, you know, they come in together. And right now, like, 26 years after.
Yeah, exactly, dude. That's what happens. Well, if you're Catholic, then you believe in providence, and I mean, it's meant to happen. Then
and that's the thing.
You know?
In Jiu-Jitsu and Jiu-Jitsu, they were like, there is no coincidence, and I'm like, oh, but some things I do think there is something bigger. But when you start connecting the dots, it's like,
it's hard not to believe in some sort of cosmic order at that point. You know?
And I do have my certainty on a higher being.
Yeah.
For sure. I do.
Yeah.
And well, long story short, I came by to Ecuador again. What happened? Boom, COVID.
Yeah. At least you made it to Ecuador.
Yes.
Man. Like Rodrigo was telling me stories about guys that couldn't get back to Brazil because of it, man, and were stuck in the States. And I learned this week, there was a buddy of mine from Japan. I reconnected from the podcast. Actually, Chaz, who was on a few episodes back, was in Tokyo, and he was talking to some folks, and they knew me, and we got reconnected. And I found out that one of my friend's wives was stuck. Her visa ran out while she was in LA and couldn't make it back to Tokyo, dude. COVID messed a lot of stuff up.
Yep.
I'm probably going to get a red flag on my Spotify account now for saying that.
Well, let's hope not.
But anyway, so you're stuck. You're down in Ecuador. COVID's now raging. What was COVID like in Ecuador, out of curiosity?
So what happened over there, it was just a lot of shutdown. It was a lockdown, shutdown. And
were the academies open? Or?
No. I'm going to tell you what I did over there. So I was in my hometown. And what happened, it was like this media attacking us. You start understanding the panic attacks or like anxiety. And you're like, oh my God, this is just too much. We still here and we still having this community, but nobody's getting sick, or if somebody's sick, they're in the hospitals or anything, but you don't know it. You're just seeing your reality.
Yeah, right.
And that's why you start to like virtualize yourself, like doing more Zoom calls and connecting with other people just from your laptop.
Yeah, avoiding parties, avoiding socializing. I mean,
but it's like if you did your whole life with that, you're like, that's not gonna match.
Yeah,
like people start getting shut down from the police because they did this party and everything just go viral and whatever. So but I'm like, that's kind of dumb, but okay.
Yeah, not the best judgment, but clearly like there's a shelf life on how long that could last, and it sounds like it was very similar in Ecuador.
And that was my last steps of brown belt.
Okay,
I was in COVID, and I was like, hey, I'm not gonna deal with this anxiety. I know that in this hotel, we have the 5-star hotel over there, the Oro Verde. I have good connection with the GM at that time, and what happened over there, it was like we already talked about, hey, do you want to start teaching? And after that, because he already realized the pedigree, right?
Yeah.
The actual my actual understanding, and he had some problems with the other coach that he was being like condescending or just trying to be the best, and he wasn't. And I'm like, perfect, I don't care about it, but I'm not gonna let nobody telling me, hey, no, you have to be under me. I'm like, I don't have that. If you're not gonna put the effort, move aside. So I started teaching over there, and I did my lockdown over there. I did like 2 or 3 months, like going back and forth, and just start teaching like a small group and start piling back. Like we were just starting with these guys in the hotel that they were like, I don't know, working kitchen, working houseman.
Yeah.
And I was over there. I was getting my gis clean. Like it was insane. Like I'm telling you,
for a bad gig, man.
I liked it.
If you could operate every jiu-jitsu school out of a hotel, I mean, think about it. You got laundry, you got housekeeping, you've got a kitchen.
Yeah.
You got a pool.
Yeah.
Maybe even got a little bit. I mean, it's a 5-star hotel, man. I mean,
we did have sauna, and we did have steam.
You might be onto a business plan here.
I'm telling you, and that hasn't happened. But right now, I see the media, and it's not what I was doing.
Yeah.
So So you can tell that, yeah, you know, props to the teacher that is over there. But I'm like, what happened is like I did get my 5 senses in it. I wasn't doing that much money, but the treat, it was insane.
Yeah.
I have a full-time gym that I was doing cardio, weights, and I was doing jiu-jitsu. At least I was doing like 5 to 6 hours daily in all this lockdown, and I was taking care of myself, doing sauna afterwards, doing vapor bathrooms, you know, getting into the jacuzzi. It was, you know, it was a nice life. That's why I was like, hey, you know, I love you guys, but you know, whatever happens, you know, if something major happened, I can just start running over you. I've got to get
a little Ecuador in my future. It sounds it sounds pretty appealing, man.
I'm telling you, man, whenever, you know, I'm able, because I renewed my passport, whenever I'm able to do that, I get everybody housing, and I get everybody training, and we can do something like Texas Manta, and it's going to be great. I'm telling you.
I love it.
That's a good business plan over there.
I love it.
And after that, I was teaching. Boom. The GM talked to Soluso, and he's like, hey, you know, I'm with the Profe Vita, right? My nickname is Vitamina, like back in the day when I was chubby and everything. Sam can laugh at that, but you know what I mean?
I'm sure he will. Nobody else will understand.
But, you know, I was chubby and everything. And right now, you know, the GM called, and it was like, hey, you know, the Profe Vita already accomplished everything. Like, we want you to come here and give him his black belt. And June 27, got my black belt.
Boom. Did you know? I mean, was it a surprise, or did you?
No.
You had a pretty good idea this is happening?
No, I wasn't surprised. I was happy.
Yeah, of course.
But I wasn't like, oh my God. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I was happy. I was deeply happy because...
How old are you at this time?
I was 23.
23, man.
So right now, 26.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, so he's going to be 26, 29, 31? No, 32.
How big of a crowd is there? I mean, obviously COVID probably impacted it.
It wasn't a big of a crowd, but, you know, a lot of, I think like 420 likes.
Yeah.
Yeah, 420 likes. So people were like, hey, you know, expecting that, like, hey, you know, he deserved it.
Yeah, that's amazing, man. That's
you
amazing.
know, all that love.
Yeah.
And after that, just start teaching that. And when I started the black belt, I have some opportunities to start competing right after.
Oh, really?
So what happened? It was
this
like
is June 2020, so we're pretty deep into COVID at this point.
Yes.
I mean, we're now in that confusing zone of the summer where it was like, you know, is this thing ever going to go away? And like, we got to get back to life, you know, I guess we can wear a mask.
We always consider mask stupid because we're old.
Yeah.
But, you know, we have to...
It's a different perspective.
We have to figure the schedule. And, you know, even for marketing purposes, if you want me to put a mask, I'll do it. But we already know that we already grind each other's face like
it's so
rolling.
Exactly, man. It's so hard for people to... If you don't know or understand jiu-jitsu, I mean, like, it's so hard to we did that with wrestling. Like, my son's first year of wrestling was COVID. And so we would have these, like, the kids would have to put the masks on to go in the stands, and then they would come down onto the field or onto the mats, and they would be like, and I'm like, what the hell are we doing? This is ridiculous. I mean, this is like this COVID-free zone, and then they walk 10 feet this way.
We did protocols as well. Yeah. So all these protocols were like really, it's like, okay, we need to get the sanitizer stations. We need to get like, the thing that it was really sketchy, it was the social distancing.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, everybody doing just jiu-jitsu by themselves. And it's like, yeah, but since we're in a closed space, like, we're going to roll. Like, nobody's going to say anything.
Yeah.
And even though in Manta, it's such a small town that you're like, hey, if somebody wants to come over, it's like, we need to see, we do you like a COVID testing, and you good to go.
Yeah.
Every time that I went out to see my parents in 15 minutes away, I did a COVID test, and they were like, hey, coach, like, thank you for coming back. Yeah. I was like, perfect.
Yeah. So couple hours in at this point, and I definitely want to get into some questions on your perspective of things. And then, of course, just going back to the root of the podcast itself with, how to balance some of the different elements of life. And you've got a pretty extreme story because you basically started as a kid, dominated your way up through, blue, purple, brown, and then got your black belt as an instructor, as, essentially a kid, still.
Yeah,
right?
Still.
And so as an adult practitioner, right? Like somebody that's coming in here as a new white belt, a new blue belt, whatever the case may be, that's deep in their career or whatnot, it can be sometimes a little bit hard to relate to somebody that's been as successful in jiu-jitsu as you have. But surely you've come across some situations where maybe you were injured or maybe, something has come up that's just put a hurdle in your journey. Did you ever have to take any time off, or did you ever have to kind of overcome a big obstacle as you've, advanced along the way here?
Yeah, like as an athlete, you need to understand that injuries are going to come and go.
Yeah.
Are going to be on your way, or you deal with injuries all your path. But yeah, I've been stopped by that, but not that much. That's because of the training that I did. I always did my training with the purpose of maintaining myself, to the purpose of keeping myself out of injury. But things happen, and since we're already in this, moving from Manta to the big scenery already as a pro athlete, as a black belt, I got beat up on my debut. It was bad. I got tapped. Perfect. I got a match with this killer. He came back from the States. He was doing fight to wins. He was, somebody that everybody was afraid of.
Yeah.
He just beat me up, and I was like, okay, again, I already deal with this. So back to the lab, fail and back to the lab. So I got beat up on my first tournaments, but I still feel that I was there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I still feel that I had it, but I lost by advantages. I got submitted now and then. But what happened, it was like, again, back to that lab, back to that zone that you're gonna be able to understand. And I did so much introjection with natural laws that I was like, yeah, everything is gonna be clear. And you hear a lot of on that time podcasting and audiobooks. Mm-hmm. So like Can't Hurt Me by Debbie Goggins.
Oh my god, yeah, that's a tough one, man. That's a tough one to read. He's got an intense story.
So you're like, okay, understanding that while you're doing your cardio, understanding the laws that are gonna be with us all the time. So I went back to the lab for almost a year, because I did the nationals that it was with COVID. I ended up in third place. I lost by advantage or something like that. And I went back next year, 2021. Mm-hmm. I'm telling you, I was coaching a successful team. I was doing the blog, and people get the interest, and they are like, hey, do you want to do an interview for this new channel that I have? I'm like, cool, bring it on. Like, I was really open to do media. And after that, putting that grind, that silent grind, always trying to be willing to give to the community, because I'm telling you, me as a coach, I thought that I really got a nice impact. You can see a lot of the bloggings that I do. I was producing, I was getting the shots, I was placing the cameras, I was editing. I was putting my work in front and really serious. So every time that I have a competition, I got my the young blood, the new tigers, and they were, just rocking the competitions. I was so proud of the people that I train every single day, and see them improving, just like skyrocketing.
Yeah.
I see my progression really linear, like, going really slow but steady.
Yeah.
But some kids, they just get into that momentum and rhythm boom.
And
They just snaps and start, and that was a cool part of being a coach, of putting my grain of sand in, people's journey.
Yeah.
Even though right now I left, and a lot of people they stop because it's different. Like, I don't think you can replicate my added value to the training. Right now you can see good 5 people training. If they do a big open mat or promotion, that's cool. But what I did in that 2020 to 2021, it was like no precedence. Like, we were just getting it, and everybody was like, getting goals and getting their own game. And after that, I came back silently but surely. I came back to the nationals. So the nationals that I already won once, I just won them in purple belt. I didn't won them in brown belt. I didn't. And what happened over there, it was like, okay, I already did this. But right now it's another weight division, and I'm going to face the guy that I did my debut against, the guy that beat me up. So right now I was like, I know that I can beat him. Why? Because I already roll with him. I know that I'm way better in technique, but, no gi is different. So right now we're going to have a rematch in the gi. And everybody and himself, he was just being cocky. He was just like, hey, since I compete in United States, I'm the hot shot, right? And he was the first seed, kind of. All eyes on him and everything. But I was like, I need to beat this guy. There is no other way. I need to beat him. And whatever he was doing, I was doing it harder. I was doing it better. And we started the first round. The first round, semifinal, there were 2 fights. First round, we started doing a war. I'm telling you, he started playing guard. Since I was doing so much wrestling, because in Ecuador we have a strong wrestling background, I'm telling about Christian Rivas, El Demoledor. He's right now fighting MMA in United States. He's pursuing his thing. We have Andres Moreno, Olympic wrestler. So we were having our top game on point, because the GM of the hotel, shout out to Ricardo, he was putting a lot of value in wrestling. So we have every single, maybe kind of every 2 weeks, like a top-notch wrestling coach. So this guy was like fearsome, because if he got you in a double leg blast, this guy from Guayaquil that he was beating everybody up, nobody have beaten him. What happened? It was that I stopped his game. I was like counter wrestling him. Boom, boom, boom. When I got into that counter wrestling, and you're not gonna put my butt on the ground, I say I won. He has to pull guard, and I was passing relentlessly, and I made 2 advantages. And it was a 10-minute match, a full gas match. I won. And he was like, no, I thought that, those advantages were mine, and blah, 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 arguing. Long story short, I did the final. I submit the final with a straight ankle lock, like 2 minutes into the fight with this guy. So we were teaching in the same city. I was teaching in this hotel, and he was teaching in my ex academy. So I was like, hey, bro, you're from Argentina. I'm from this country. Like, I'm the capo here. You know what I mean? I have to get into that psychotic mindset to like, hey, bro, whatever you want, you're not going to beat me. Like, there's no fat chance. And we get to the, to receive our medals, right? First place, this guy that he was teaching, and the second, the other third place, and the guy that I beat, that he was, undefeated, he ran out. That's why. That's where I became a legend in that Coliseum, because everybody was like, oh, he beat Alan. oh my God, he beat him. And everybody was asking me, like, did you beat him? What happened? And I'm like, hey, I beat him, and he didn't even step on the podium. He didn't. Really?
Wow.
He ran out.
No, it's not a good display of sportsmanship for sure.
When he almost wrecked my leg, I tap and I say cheers to him. But what happened, I was like, oh, I touched something that really hurts to you. You didn't expect that guy that was silently pursuing that and working, you'd never expect that I was going to be able to beat you. Mm-hmm. And I'm telling you, because the same reaction of the Coliseum, nobody could believe it. It was like, did you? And man, so that was Saturday. I was, national champion already. I was first on the ranking. Perfect. And nobody could believe it. I went to coach because I was coaching. I was giving the purple belt to a student of mine.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He won his division. I gave him his purple belt, and I'm telling you, nobody could believe it. Like, at least 30 people. Hey, did you beat him? What happened? And what happened to him? He's not in the podium. And I'm like, well, what happened? It was this, and that. Zero sportsmanship, and it's not a disgrace, but I'm like, hey man, like, nobody could believe it because he was like undefeated. So that's where I knew that I became like an urban legend, the underdog beating the first seed, the undefeated guy, the most fearsome guy. And I was like, no, you have to believe in your convictions. You have to believe that you're bigger than a fight. Yeah. And well, that come and go. After being national champion 2021, I was the black belt. It was lightweight black belt national champion 2021. Wow. So nobody could believe it, and I'm telling you, the people's reaction, they were astonished. They were like, oh my God, and asked me so many times, like, what happened? And I'm like, okay, bro, like, just leave it there. But but after taking that step, I was like, okay, I'm ready.
So let's go to some of your training then. And again, thinking of a white belt, an adult white belt, right? You've got an interesting perspective because, again, I mean, I'm imagining you kind of coming through the ranks and then like thinking of somebody in the United States who would come into like Formiga school, for example, right? 25 years old, never trained jiu-jitsu, is getting tired of sitting in a cubicle and answering phone calls all day, hates his boss, and just wants an outlet at night. What advice do you have for that person? I mean, that's a totally different path than you were on. And now they've got to deal with the Jose's of the world that are, 3-year black belts and kind of coming into their prime. What advice do you have for somebody that's just starting their jiu-jitsu journey, but maybe is kind of, your age?
So even though, you're on your 20s or mid 20s or starting your
could be anywhere. Could be 30s.
It could be like 30s, whatever, or like 20s. My recommendation always is to find joy in it. Find that joy on, hey, I'm getting all my worries away. Mm-hmm. And just think that phrase as that he says, like, worries away. Because what Formiga said in the Jesus and Jiu-Jitsu was like, hey, when somebody comes into your door, into your academy, you're not just gonna beat him up. You want to make those worries and those those complexes gone for a while. Or at least as a good black belt, I start to understand that people, the way they fight, the way they feel, they do feel something. They do have some internal fighting. Yeah. So at least being able to understand to start training is like, do it for you. That's always my go-to. Do it for you. Don't fall into peer pressure, because whenever you do it, okay, you do 3 years and get to the to the blue belt. You did it all because of peer pressure. You're not gonna do purple.
Yeah, it's too hard.
And I'm telling you, I try, since I've been in this so long. I'm like, I try to help people, white belts to reach the blue belt. But when I was doing all this work, I'm like, whenever they got the blue belt, it was that's it. Yeah. I'm like, okay, but that's about you go. Sadly.
Yeah.
But if you don't find joy, you're not gonna be able to fight the adversity that comes with it.
Yeah, it inevitably does. What do you think? I mean, like, finding joy it can be tough. You could love doing this, but there's inevitably going to be nights when, man, it's just a long drive home,
Of course.
How do you, I mean, you were a different story, because clearly you had an addiction to this and like this.
yes, my ears don't lie. My cauliflower don't lie.
What do you recommend? I mean, how do you find joy in this? How do you make this a long-term thing that you could find joy in?
Obviously, after finding joy, you need to hold yourself accountable. Mm-hmm. So what is hold yourself accountable? Set your goals that jiu-jitsu is going to provide to you. Because if you set goals, you're going to understand that jiu-jitsu is giving you.
Yeah.
Right now I'm giving back. Right now, if I go to be a Uke for Sam in Forney, Texas, or if I go to the Braid 7 project, if I volunteer to be a guest teacher.
I love that project, by the way.
It's powerful. Yeah. And I already volunteered. So shout out to Corey. He's going to give me a chance to teach over there. That's and hopefully, awesome. We can have some footage so we can promote that. But yeah, I do volunteer about that and the giving.
It's a way to find joy.
In my expertise, giving and serve is really important. But if you just want to learn and receive, you need to set the goals for you to be accountable.
Yeah.
Because you don't start like a white belt starting mid 20s or whatever. Yeah, there are cases, but normally you don't have be world champion. Maybe you have things that you need to fight too. And I'm not talking about just physical. I'm talking about a lot of complex, a lot of illness, a lot of things that they drag you down.
Yeah, it's a major outlet.
And we as coaches, as professors, as people that already suffered major injuries or major complex or major whatever illness we're facing or adversity, we're gonna be able to when we're in this deeper connection in the role, we're gonna be able to say like, hey, it's good. Just keep on going and find that things that you're passionate of. Mm-hmm. So if fitness and you're really relate to numbers is your goal, okay, set some goals, set some weight drops, so get some training or weight training.
I like that makes a lot of sense.
And in the case of teenagers, because I work a lot of teenagers and I think that's my expertise, like connecting and bonding with teenagers, you do that whenever you're able to understand their struggles and put that into a solid plan, into a repertoire of techniques. Or if there is somebody that is really good but is undermotivated, it's like how you're gonna make him or her work that out.
Yeah.
How you're gonna put in a contest or put this like you have here your fundamentals, passing, sweeps. How you're gonna start make them understand the circle of techniques that they can do, the sequence that they can do. So they have to get sharp-minded into that. So find puzzles for people, and different people, different puzzles.
Yeah, different objectives, different goals, right?
And every single people has a different puzzle.
Yeah.
So if I'm talking to an adult, he just wants to like have 1, 2, 3, take down, pass, mount, and submit. 1, 2, 3, 4. But you're talking with a kid, and he's like, okay, I'm not gonna get the strong part. So think about scheming a puzzle for them throughout the years.
Yeah.
Thinking about the long run, thinking about like, hey, this kid is gonna come here, is gonna put the time. So right now, how we can improve those skills and those skill sets that you need to get into the plate of them, and that's what's keep them motivated.
Yeah.
And that's what
They've got something specific that they could work on and see some,
and they can think about it.
Yeah.
At least if I think the mission as a coach is send the people after training thinking about 1 or 2 things. Maybe you're not gonna be all of it. Maybe you're not gonna be obsessed with adults, right? Because we already have a lot of the outside world, but being able to leave one little detail, one little thing to like research about, that's where you as a coach have a success. And I'm telling you, when you do the black belt level and you start realizing what's involved, yeah, being champion is perfect, it's nice and whatever, but the influence and what we give to them is the most important. Because we have to think as a group. You have to think, hey, as a group, what do I want to accomplish? But as every single individual, what do I want them to accomplish, or what they need to accomplish? And that comes with a lot of back and forth research.
Yeah. I think that there's a lot of truth in that too. And like, no matter who you are, whether it's a kid or an adult, there's a level, like as a kid, obviously it might be a little bit different, but as an adult, some things that I think are missing sometimes are that, I don't know how I say this without it being, kind of construed in a wrong way, but like you kind of have to take ownership of your own training to a certain degree, right? And maybe you could argue back like, well, hey, you're a white belt, you don't know, but you do know how to engage. And so if you're my coach, for example, you're Jose, you're a black belt, you've clearly paved the way and have mastered, have a subject matter expertise and are qualified to teach. And I'm Dave, I'm a new white belt. Like I at least know my goals, and I should know how to communicate those to you so that you can kind of help me create some of this intent and this game plan in my training, and sometimes I feel like that's missing. And the way that you described, like, find your joy, like that speaks a lot to me, because I do feel like some of that intent, right, is just like ignored. People just sort of become a passenger on this. And you can't be a passenger and make jiu-jitsu a long-term thing. You've got to take command of the ship. And there's probably different ways to do that, different levels, right? And different times for different levels. But I don't know. I mean, maybe I don't know if you agree with that or not, but I just, that's something that I've noticed is people that start burning out, they just don't have any, maybe it's the joy, like you said, and that joy could be expressed in different ways. They don't have a reason to show up anymore. Like they didn't have a reason to begin with even,
And what I think about that is like, okay, are you challenging your own intelligence?
Right.
Because you need to be able to reach, and how we reach is in this midst of the fighting. I'm telling you about chaos, full chaos, but you're able to get little glimpses of, okay, he's kind of, he's thoughtful to step forward. He's afraid, or he's, having background noise, because what's happening. You need to connect in that level. You need to see, even in your fight you lost, you're gonna give something to somebody.
Yeah.
Even though if I get tapped and everything, at least I was able to extract something from it that you can use.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Those thoughts that are really buried in the midst of the fight, they're gonna go out. So our job as black belts, as instructors, as coaches, is realizing that, and it's like create a plan for that.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm telling you, because the youth is right now so complicated. Right now, everybody's just so mixture with technology and false expectations and not sad dreams, but another sense of reality, right? We have that, we're gonna be viral and things, and we're gonna have and that's not the way.
Right.
When I came here to the States, I realized that the background of everything is hard work. Even though
there's no skipping it.
It's no skipping it. And you thought about it. You thought, hey, I'm kind of good here in the small pond.
Mm-hmm.
And you came here to the big ocean. Oh my God. You realize that this 22-year-old kid is living in the gym, grinding out. So I'm not saying that, you can be a top level. You have the example of Rodrigo, Rafael Formiga, Anthony Cross. They are fearsome competitors and fearsome fighters, but they are extremely well-rounded coaches. Sam, and that way. But sometimes you have these top-level competitors, but they are not. They can bond with people. So I thought about that a lot. 100%, right?
Dude, seriously. Like and when I go back and I look at like the last 15 years of my training, well, I mean,
15.
It's impossible to like, I would never want to rank my teachers, right? But there have definitely been some, dude, I just couldn't learn. I mean, ADCC, competitors, I didn't learn anything. I just wasn't, and they were very good teachers, but they weren't for me, right? Like I couldn't personally learn from them either because I wasn't ready to accept the knowledge, or their teaching style didn't match my learning style or whatever. And one of my best coaches ever was the person who took me from blue belt and purple belt. You'll never know his name, man. It's Bruce Belfield. Never won a competition in his life. Doesn't want to. That's not his style. But man, in terms of an instructor and in terms of like the ability to transfer knowledge from his brain housing group to mine, and show me with his body onto my body how some of these moves work, it clicked, man. Formiga is another one. I mean, Formiga has taken me to a whole different level, because like what he puts down, I can pick up. If you can't form that connection with your instructor and the student, dude, there's no hope.
You're not going to get far.
As a student, your instructor's not going to be the one that's going to do the moves for you. You have to be able to go.
And the sad thing over that is you're going to disengage anytime. You know what I mean? Like,
you won't see the progress. You'll never find the joy, to your point.
You're not going to get the joy, and you're just going to think like, hey, I'm just wasting my life. Because the bigger picture at the end of the day is get into the mindset of a fighter. You can be the the world champion or whatever, but what does that involve? It involves some organization in your life. It involves some cleanliness in your life. It involves to really understand that you're a person and you need to live your life properly in order to perform. Because when we have and I know that a lot of people can relate with this, but when we have a clouded mind, jiu-jitsu is not it's not flowing. You can tell that whenever you're clouded, whenever things seems like you don't seem the way of your problem, you take that to jiu-jitsu. You're like, why I have such a bad day?
Dude, it's so funny because it kind of goes back to the beginning, right? When I was talking about yoga. And I mean, like, it's not surprising. These are difficult skills to learn. Jiu-jitsu is a difficult skill to learn. Yoga is a difficult skill to learn. my objective is not to be some, the most ultra flexible yogi instructor or whatnot, right? But I still found myself in those first classes, like I would get a little frustrated, man. I was doing these moves. I'm like, damn it. Like, why can't I get this perfect pose and this perfect posture and whatnot? The reason is because it's hard, right? And it's a skill, and I haven't gotten the skill yet. And it's the same thing as a white belt that comes in. It's like, man, I hate rolling with this guy. He always beats me. Like, I have no idea what I'm doing. I feel lost. And you go home and you're all pissed off and you're thinking about the loss that you just had. And then all of a sudden this accumulates. Or you're a good practitioner and you're flipping through Instagram constantly, looking at all these amazing videos of people in their best moments ever, and you're comparing yourself to them. I mean, there's nothing wrong with doing something that is really, really hard and being bad at it and setting an objective to getting marginally better on the next round. And I think that the ability to break that down and actually execute on that is probably where a lot of stuff gets lost. And people get so, like you said, this mental cloud. Like all you see is this murky jujitsu battle that you're about to be in. And like to break it up is just, it can be too overwhelming for people sometimes, And maybe that's the advice, is that you've got to find ways to compartmentalize this. Please go ahead. Sorry about that.
So what I thought about it is like we reflect our mind state. So whenever you're in this clear mindset, you're gonna have a lot of improvement and you're gonna see the difference. But even though when we are living our life in chaos, you're gonna realize that chaos brings positive things, positive perspective to your way of fighting. Yeah. But it does brings a lot of downsides. Yeah. So what I think
is chaos. Embrace the chaos.
Is that embrace that chaos, but have that rules that help improve your life. Like all these big authors like Jigoro Kano, we still have we're here surrounded by so much literature, right? We have the Bushido books, we have all these books from great authors, right? That you're like, you need to excel and you need to absorb some of that. If you're not going to be able, you're never going to get to the next level. You need to rewrite these audiobooks of, the laws of the art of the war. Like, why do you think that I'm able to understand jiu-jitsu that deeply? Is because I already sleep in a mat. I already have this, like, there is nothing else. There is no money. There is no fancy things. There is just me, the jiu-jitsu, and this mat that I seen, right? There is nothing else. Yeah. So I already come from that background of deeper understanding of being all cast away in the jungle in Brazil and just walking because you lost the bus stop and you're just walking to meet your master to this paradise beach. And you're like, oh my God, I'm understanding this is way more than just jiu-jitsu. Go to this paradise trail and jump off the cliff. Understanding the trust and understanding that we're made for big things. Yeah. Whenever you are, if there is cameras or there is not. And when I came to Texas, I realized that I need to put the work in, actual medieval jobs. So even though I didn't like that much because how we were talking about being a black belt in jiu-jitsu, but a white belt in life, that's not gonna match. So I start coming here already with some knowledge of, gladly I already speak English. Yeah. But it's hard to understand how people operate. Yeah. And I'm telling operate because they operate their way into their jobs. Yeah. So I'm like, I already saw the sunrise in a tortilla factory. You know what I mean? Those bad sceneries, those bad scenarios that you're like, am I gonna get out of this? Am I gonna see another day when I can be truly happy? And you're like, maybe not. Maybe tomorrow I have to be here too. But, my family needs me.
Yeah.
My compromise and my marriage needs me. So I'm going to put everything on the line in order to make her happy or, excel that. But I've been driving so much here in Texas that I did competitions. The first year that I came here, I got, normal results. I went and competed the Tap Cancer Out, won the gold here in Dallas. And I went to New York and I got some photos for the people of Jiu-Jitsu. This Mike Kalika, he's the owner of this page. And I went to New York to watch some comedy and some Jiu-Jitsu. And I always love Helio's story. So he develops his jiu-jitsu over observation. So I didn't train that time in New York. It was in Fabio Clemente's team. They asked me because I know Vera. Vera came to Manta to do a seminar with Roberto Jimenez back in the day when we were in pandemic, and I was the teacher. So I got the seminar and all the experience for free. Roberto Jimenez is just, somebody above this world. I think that's the definition.
Yeah.
And Beta was with him at the time. I don't know right now, but she was like, hey, are you gonna train and everything? And I was like, no, right now I don't feel it, but I want to see. I want to, stay here all the class and realize how that's gonna improve my game. And it does. And I have the picture of people of Jiu-Jitsu, exciting experience. And after that, I went to the comedy show that I tell you.
Yeah.
It was great. But what I think about it is all these journeys, all these miles, all these flights that get me through to the last accomplishment on the black belt. So I compete in 2022, December, I competed in Naga Worlds. So I did the Naga Worlds. I won the division, so that gets me to this world championship. But since the jiu-jitsu community is really tied up, actually IBJJF champions, they are like, hey, that's like the fake world championship, right? And I was like, I'm not gonna say that I'm hurt, but dude, you already did the same. You know what I mean? All these champions that they are already IBJJF, they compete the sports jiu-jitsu federation and they won and they say that they were world champions. But now that you already accomplished the IBJJF level, you're like chopping it down. I don't think that's reliable. You know what I mean? Because it's a journey.
Yeah, it's definitely not productive.
It's not. And yeah. There was this I don't think
people can decide for themselves, right? I mean, like you can,
and that's not gonna take any value because I'm telling you, I asked everybody from the double team, from the double five team, and they were like, "Hey, man, like I know this guy, he's really good, and you beat him. Like, props to you. Like, you have those experience." And I don't know if I can call myself world champion. I already delete that from my Instagram info. Whatever, I don't consider myself that, but it's not gonna take away what I've accomplished.
There's a book. Actually, there's a TED Talk. It's one of the original TED Talks.
Like, that's my goal. TED Talks are my goal.
So check out Simon Sinek's TED Talk on Starts With Why. That's what it's called. Starts With Why. It totally changed my perspective for sure. I won't say it. I won't embellish it any. And he has a book as well called Start With Why. And you really only need to watch the 10-minute TED Talk and save money on the book. But the idea is that like you develop something that's so important about this activity. In your case, jiu-jitsu has another why to you other than being a jiu-jitsu champion. Being a world champion is a what, but your why is more powerful than the what. And that's what keeps you going, right?
Exactly.
Like there are people that like, And you could take it down a level too. It doesn't have to be a world championship. It could be a match in the gym, like your favorite training partner. And you focused so much and you define your jiu-jitsu so much on can you beat this one person or not, that when they finally beat you, you quit because your what was more powerful than your why. And like, that's been one of the things that's changed jiu-jitsu for me. And I would encourage anybody, white belt, blue belt, whatever, if you haven't already found something to connect yourself to in jiu-jitsu that's other than just winning or losing, because Sam brought it up on the podcast as well, no matter how, there's only a couple people that are out there that aren't going to have somebody that's going to be able to level them up. You know,
exactly.
I mean, there's always somebody behind you. And that's why having something like the community aspect, the ability to give back, the ability to serve others, all of these things are omnipresent in the jiu-jitsu community. And that's my why, because I'm already getting beat all the time. I don't have
that's
that
not gonna that's not
I don't
gonna
have
stop.
that problem, dude.
That's not gonna stop. I'm telling you for sure, that's not gonna stop, because there are so many good people that I love to roll with.
Mm-hmm.
And this respect from black belts is not something that you just go and say, I am the world champion, Naga world champion or whatever. Because I was I don't remember his name. We were rolling in the Jesus and Jiu-Jitsu 004.
Okay.
So I think you know him. He's a tatted guy, black belt.
That's definitely not going to narrow it down, dude.
No,
There's so many tatted guys.
Well, but he was with another team before he switched to 5.
Okay.
And he was like, hey, bro, but, we roll already. And he told me, real recognize real.
That's awesome, man.
And I'm
I
like
that.
I don't have to prove myself because an award.
Yeah.
That's why, I'm not here because I tell you, oh, I'm a Naga World Champion. That doesn't matter. That belt is in my room, and that's it.
Yeah.
I already have those titles. But what gets me going is that influence of being the uke in front of 80 people.
Yeah.
Perform some theatrical with Sam, with somebody that is my hero.
Well, this is the connection, man. I mean, imagine this, and people have to understand this. You are a kid, and you've got this American dude that's in Ecuador that's teaching jiu-jitsu that you look up to.
And that he bonds with you. I'm telling you, he was like, hey, I'm here in Guayaquil. Can you be my uke?
Yeah.
That was crazy.
Now, fast forward, 10 years?
Yes.
And now you're in the United States. You're at a Jesus and Jiu-Jitsu event. You're a black belt, and you're able to be the UK or the dummy for Sam, who's given technique to 100+ people in one of the at this event. I mean, like, to me, those connections right there and that community aspect of it are so much more important than the small little whats and the tactical wins that you can get out of this. All right, man. So we are coming up on 3 hours, and I've promised people that I'm going to do my best to not go over the 3 hour mark, even though originally I said I'm not going to go over the 1 hour mark.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
It's been impossible. I've literally never succeeded at that. What's left for you, man? I mean, you're in the United States now, right? You are a self-described Ronin, which for those that don't know, I mean, you're sort of a samurai without a master. I mean, you're running through the community. You've got Bushido, you've got Rogue Jiu-Jitsu, you've been in the 5 locations now. What do we have to look forward to with Jose Balda in the future?
So, first of all, the running part was really something that I didn't expect. Mm-hmm. But since everybody's so welcoming here, I just fell in love with roll with 20 black belts in one training.
Yeah.
I'm not telling you.
It's a different experience, right?
Yeah, and it's just really rewarding. But everybody tells me, hey, go, do a lot of rolls with blue belts. I'm like, that's perfect. I'm open to that. But the actual going and get yourself into that midst of a real fighter, it's just nice. And what happened being a running here, I like the experience of seeing different locations and go all over Texas. So what I want to do, and I open this to the DFW community. I want to start teaching again. I want to start getting guest teachers invites. I want to make myself a part of the community, somebody that is gonna be able to spread his ideas and ideas that are worth it. So with that, I love the fact that I roll with so many gym owners and so many black belts that without noticing, they already have some respect. And they have their comments about me, positive comments like, hey, this guy is somebody that is really good, that we already roll, that is just tough as nails. And I'm like, that speaks highly of what I'm doing right now. And if you have talked to anybody to ask for a recommendation, it's like, they speak highly of me because of my work ethic. So yeah, I think getting that, that invitation to, hey, I'm open to start driving around DFW and guest teach, or doing open mats and build this sense of community. I'm open to that. And for sure, keep on doing competitions. I'm always being a competitive guy, and since right now I have my display of championships here in the United States, I already have my is like my smooth calm record. You see that I have my submissions, my wins, and I'm like, I start building a name, and people start having that admiration. Like after winning Naga, one guy asked me for a photo, and I was just happy to do it.
That's awesome.
And those little details, or those little classes that I've been having, is like, hey coach, when are you coming back? And I'm like, oh, it's just heartwarming. And
that's awesome. So I guess the DFW community, which is where you live right now, and who knows how far else this will reach out to. But I mean, I guess you've heard it. You've got a pretty highly qualified and available black belt that's ready to get back after it.
Exactly. And after that, all the plans that we were talking about, trying to get back to the university rule set, kind of, because I always being inclined to the
the psychology side with a little master's degree, man.
Oh, I would love that, but it just takes time. But right now, I'm like,
different mindset.
I like the fact that I've been recognized by people that they collaborate in universities, and I'm able to have a talk, not like somebody that doesn't know anything. We already have a talk of friends, of people that they admire each other. I admire you for what you do, and you admire me for what I am. So with that being said, I've been having plans to keep on going with the acting, but I just did some short films and everything. But that's not my main motive right now. I just want to go back at it and really get that sense of building something, make a community. Opportunities gladly here in the jiu-jitsu world is really relate to promotions and projects. So I already have a lot of people that we have a good connection, that are like, hey, I'm here, available to do a casting or something like that. And I'm like, yeah, man, you let me know and I get ready.
That's awesome.
But talking about teaching, I'm just stoked.
Yeah, man.
I'm just stoked.
Well, it's a target-rich environment. That's for sure. And now that you're back out into it and actually available, then I'm sure, it's basically, kind of you pick. Do you have any closing thoughts? Anything that you want to close out with?
Well, I think, guys, subscribe to Rolemos el Mundo. We have YouTube, Instagram, and for sure I have a lot of good footage, but as Dave
totally
said,
agree. You got some magical rolling cannonball Jose's that are going to come out of nowhere.
I'm telling you, man.
I really did like it.
I like the fact to start doing content again.
Yeah,
so
that's cool.
I'm trying to get in touch with
and for the Americans
directors
out there that how do you say it in slow Spanish? Like you told me on the phone, rolemos el mundo.
Rolemos el mundo. Rolemos el mundo.
Yeah, it's good stuff. It's a great YouTube channel. There's all kinds of stuff in there, and there's some really good techniques. You've got a lot of good shorts on there, and you've got a lot of good stuff that just sort of breaks some things down. So I watched a bunch of it and subscribed and encourage everybody to do the same.
Yeah, and since we're in the I never thought, guys, like I never thought that I was going to be able to do the 3-hour mark, but I'm glad if we can have another episode. Like
I'll be
glad to because we still have to talk about the thesis, all those interviews that I did. By the
way, your thesis is in Spanish, dude.
Again.
Yeah. I mean, you give me way too much credit. Nobody's going to understand that comment, but it basically goes back to a college thesis that Jose suggested I read, which is clearly not in my native language. It's complicated enough. One of the things, I mean, you brought up some really good stuff, man. And I do hope we have another opportunity to sit down. And I think in the future, as we go through like the storyteller mode, where we break down people's stories and try to relate them to people and keep them on the mat, eventually we're going to have to shift gears. And I've thought about doing maybe some more Q&A type stuff where people actually send in their questions, because questions do come in on the messaging app. And you'd be a great person to have back in, man. So I really appreciate your time, dude. 3 hours. I know I'm kind of not exactly on the beaten path either, so I appreciate you coming up this way, brother.
But the thing is, like that sense of I made it here, and I'm on a foreign language, and even though with the stuttering,
that alone, I think is
even though with the stuttering, I'm like,
not at all, man.
I want to make the story clear in order for, hey, let's overcome together. If you need somebody when you're in this dark sunset, right? Like you're in this dark space, people are gonna be able to help.
Yeah.
And I took that from Sam's podcast, that you're gonna be impressed that how much people is willing to help.
Yeah.
And since you have, brokers, friends, and everything, I'm like, everything is just piled up for me. Since we're in this BJJ world and everything, and that's my expertise, that's what I've been pursuing. I'm coming here and say like, hey, but I want to pursue a bigger project. Like I want to get in touch with investors, like real estate agents. Why? Because I have like a 50 house project, and this is a big project in Ecuador. And I'm like, whenever I get somebody that is able to understand my vision, I think podcasting and
networking is a powerful tool, man.
Networking is a powerful tool.
Well, this is the beginning of that.
Yeah,
I love it, man.
And I'm glad that we have this time together, and
heck yeah,
the relationship is so profound that we are able to understand his story, and we get a 3-hour podcast for most likely 12 years of story. I try to make it really.
It's impossible.
It's impossible, but
it's impossible. Believe me, like I remember doing Formiga's podcast, and I went back afterwards, and some of the stuff that we had to skip over, I almost feel was like criminal. Like he had pieces of his story where he talked about for like 4 years only having blue belts to train with, and I'm like, why did we stop? Why didn't we talk more about that? That's huge, but I mean, you have a couple hours to get all of this out, dude. We skipped so much of your story tonight, just out of time. Definitely want to have you back on, do some more Q&A.
That's perfect.
When one of the things that Jose brought up tonight that I thought was definitely resonated with me was along the lines of intent. And anybody that's listened to episodes of this podcast in the past has known that I've talked a lot about intent in training and being very purposeful and coming up with a game plan so that no matter what your training regimen is, if you're 1 day, 2 day, every day, multi times a day, go in there with intent. And back to the beginning, when I talk about my yoga training, one of the things that I'm very impressed with, and anybody who's a yoga professional is probably going to think this is the most ridiculous observation ever, but every single session that we start in a meditative state. We prepare our minds, our bodies, our spirits to become physical, to connect our breathing, and we're encouraged to come with an intent. And every single night, it's up to you to set that. And that's the same in jiu-jitsu. It doesn't matter what level you're at. Jose reiterated that. We've heard that multiple times in the past. And that's what I would encourage you to do as well. If you've listened this long, I am grateful once again. Thank you very much. We are out.